Cool. Hello, this is a design stream, and this week we'll be looking at the Theatre of Blood boss, Sotazeg. Sotazeg is a dark beast that's been experimented on in the theatre by Lady Verzig and her minions, and he looks very cool, but we'll get to that in a moment. First off, let's go through the guest list. Starting off, we have Modwolf.
Hello, you alright?
We're taking your questions over the next half an hour. Then we have Mod Aiza at 2:30 onwards, and then we have the legendary Mod Ash.
The Mod Ash.
At 4 PM, and then we'll be getting into the dev Q&A as usual.
You know, we're so lucky we get to work with somebody like Ash.
We are very lucky.
We are very lucky.
Cool.
That came across a lot more sarcastic than it was intended to. You know, I realised the other day that I said something, and I was like, wow, I'm really excited about that. And someone was like, are you? And I was like, no, I'm being serious, I am excited. But you know when it comes across like that?
The worst thing you could possibly try to do in this world is be sincere, I think.
I know, because you
People
try...
just take it the wrong way.
They do, they do.
Okay, cool. Let's move on to the cam. There we go, it worked. Okay, so here we have the Dark Beast. Everyone knows the Dark Beast. Then we have its successor, the Night Beast, which came with Superior Slayer. Then we have Sotazeg, who's a monster of a Dark Beast.
Pretty big.
Yeah. He's so big that he needed extra tusks to make him feel even bigger.
Just make it really big.
Yeah. So that's the creature that will be animated today. I should show you at the top just here. So this one's got like a weird bony spine. This guy's not got his spine exposed. He's got hair around the back, and he's got tusks, and the tusk move the jaw.
Is that an exposed
really
spine?
Good. It was on that one, yeah.
I always thought it was just very limited poly levels of hair.
Oh really?
I thought it was like fur.
No.
It's just what I thought. Yeah.
It never was. Did anyone else think that was fur?
Don't ask them that, because they're going to go no.
I want to know if everyone else thought that was fur. And I was going, I'm glad I did that spine. I always thought that looked really cool.
Sorry.
And everyone's like, oh, he's got a ponytail.
No, not just me. Okay.
People want the mammoth design stream. I'd love to redesign that mammoth.
Oh, that mammoth's so ugly.
We have to poll it though. We can't just go around sort of changing assets.
No, we can't. But I think a lot of people probably agree it's one of those that's not the prettiest of assets.
Although I'd love a 3D print of it. Just to kind of...
it would be so flat.
It'd be terrible.
You know, like those like weights that you have, like paper weights, like the wooden elephants. Yeah. You get stuff like it'll remind me of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So moving away from the mammoth, we'll just deal with this. So I'm going to go into the animator. This is going to be an animation stream, by the way, just so you know. The Dark Beast is just here. It's called Dark Beast Update. That was done back in 2005, maybe, or 2007.
I'm going to go ahead and just answer the questions being spammed right now. Just answer it. The World 47 Deadman mode thing, there has been something released. I believe Mod Aiza posted on Reddit and explained exactly what happened. There was, I think, 3 people affected, 2 of which are being investigated in our team because they're probably not legitimate players anyway who died, and then one of them did legitimately die, and we're working on giving them their stuff back, or at least what we can. So yeah, Mod Aiza, if you can find the link, please do post it. But that's all we're going to say about World 47 the entire stream, okay? That's it. And now we're going to get questions about the Theatre of Blood and animation work from Mod Ghost. Please don't spam him. It's not something that you can help with. It's not really something I can help with. Thank you.
I can help you with almost nothing.
There we go.
I'm very sorry. I'm quite useless in that respect.
Sorry, I just wanted to save you from that chat spam for the next 3 hours that you'd be dealing with.
You've got nothing to be sorry for. It's fine.
Oh, you said my real name.
I know.
You said Jet. It's fine.
Everyone's
I call you
gonna
Gareth
stalk
as
you
well.
now.
I know. Oh, they can't hear me. Damn it! After all that.
Cool. So let's just go to Zeg. Let's save this quickly because I don't want to show the spoilers. And I'll just move this over here a bit. Okay, so I'm going to close this just here, and we'll go to the Dark Beast update, and I'll show you his walk animation. So this is Dark Beast, how he just walks back and forth. Other guy's in the way. Hang on. Let's just turn him off. There we go. So he's moonwalking a bit there. That's just had to do some crazy stuff to make the two appear side by side in the editor, just to illustrate this. That's generally what he looks like when he walks. So I can get him to move. There we go. It doesn't really help.
Is there anything rune crafting related in the new raid in Theatre of Blood? I think you're referring to maybe a couple of weeks ago we had a question on the Q&A that asked if you could have like a vampirical pouch to hold more pure essence, and we said no. It's a fully linear, very combat focused raid, Theatre of Blood. So
yeah, it's completely linear.
So no, there is no kind of skilling reward associated with it.
Cool. All right, so just quickly, then I'll get let Model take your questions. I'm actually just going to be reworking the walk today on this NPC. So if I just make him walk now, you can kind of see what I've done with that. So it'll be a lot smoother, and his foot won't kind of clip into the floor, like you can see just there with the Dark Beast and stuff. And he'll really kind of like swagger and reach forward, very sort of like almost like a gorilla in a respect, and his hands will kind of claw into the ground and stuff. And it will feel a lot more expressive than the original. So I'll be doing a walk. If there's enough time later, I'll kind of do a basic idle, and then I'll do the special attack. Over to you, Model.
I had a challenge for you, actually.
Oh, okay, what's that?
With his walk animation, I was thinking the other day, if you bake into his model the like dirt of the floor, could you animate it to appear when he actually claws along, so it looks like he's digging into the ground?
That would be
how sick would that be?
Nice. Okay, yeah, I can.
Okay, cool. Okay. There we go. Did it? Yes.
I do that.
But now you're gonna have to model that in. Sorry.
I don't mind. I've got bits of dirt that I can add in, I suppose. But I don't know if I'll do it in this session though.
That's okay. Don't worry about it.
I will.
It's fine.
I will do my best to do it though. I will do it. No, do my best means I won't do it.
No,
I will actually do it. I will do it.
The one of the best things about models that have things that appear from them, like Jad when he stamps on the ground, and I was about to leak something. I'm trying to think of another thing that uses like the wilderness bosses, how the spores are always animated, like always there. The thing that appears below them is always there, but you animate it to be invisible. And similar with Jad, when you put the model of Jad in, he's got these like glowing giant things here when he stamps on the ground.
Yeah, that's right. So like the reason why that's important is, say with that shadow just there, like if you see all these people, all these dark beasts side by side, this one feels like it's actually grounded with the environment. So by even adding something simple like a shadow, you actually feel like the two are kind of interacting with one another. So those sort of things like the dirt coming out of the ground when he digs his claws in, it just sells it a lot more, and it makes it feel like everything's more cohesive and joined together. So I'm a big fan of that, and I've got plenty of polys left.
Yeah. So there's a question for you from Ortega. How long have you worked at Jagex?
It's coming up to 5 years soon that I've been here. I know, you've almost been here 5 years.
I have. I joined like 6 months after you.
Yeah.
That was fun. I remember being introduced. To you because you started in QA, right? And Scott Mod Coco was walking me around and going, "This is this and this is that," as you do when you join. And we got to Gareth and like, "This is Gareth." And I think you were on a contract at the time, or were you full-time?
I was working with a temp company when I first arrived here.
And I was like, "This is Gareth," and Gareth's been here a long time, and this, that, and another. I was like 6 months, like a long time, and now it's coming up to 5 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, fun.
Cool. Right, so I better do some work. If you guys have any questions for me, Mod will pose them to me.
Yes.
Otherwise, he can do his best to answer your questions about anything else that's not art related.
Were you guys playing RuneScape before you started working at Jagex? What about yourself?
Never heard of it.
Did you actually not?
No, I'd never.
Oh wow, they got, and in 5 years, look at him now. No, I was a long-term player when I joined. We have this when we're hiring. By the way, we're hiring. Look at our career site. We're looking for QA. We're looking for dev. Apply. When we're hiring, we have this way up of experience of the industry versus experience of game. All right, mate?
Oh, right.
I go down the wrong way?
Good.
Yeah, sure. And we kind of weigh that up between... We very... I'm trying to word this correctly so that HR don't kill me, because it's not a bad thing. It's just I don't want to word it in a way that is wrong. But each extremity has their advantages and disadvantages. So obviously hiring somebody with a lot of experience is going to be really good at their job. Like hiring an experienced artist or an experienced QA analyst will know what they're doing. Whereas comparatively, if they have no RuneScape experience and you toss them into RuneScape, it's kind of a weird game to get the grasp of, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, you definitely know what I mean. You're a good example, right?
Yeah, when I first came here, I really didn't get it. I was like, why can't I use my arrow keys and my WASD to move around? Why have I got to click on the screen?
But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, people who have like a lot of experience in RuneScape but not of the thing that they're applying for, and that was me, you learn a lot more other things, especially because this is my first job as well, so I learned a lot in this job over 5 years. So yeah, there you go. But do apply if you can apply. I
wish it was my first job. I had to work in a hospital for years before I managed to land this.
Dude, you have such a cool like backstory of jobs. Have you ever told them about the fact you used to be a nurse?
I wasn't a nurse. Everyone keeps saying.
No, you were kind of a nurse. What were you? You were the.
It's called a perioperative assistant. It's basically like a technician with no real responsibility. Other than sort of working to help those who do have serious responsibilities.
I don't think that's true. When I was in the hospital getting injections for my spine, the person like setting up and like taking out all the stuff and clear, I was like, that person's got a very scary and very serious job. Like they are the people setting up, getting ready for this person to inject me with a needle this long in my spine. Like I was scared.
That wasn't my job.
Dude, I'm trying to make you sound really cool here. You're underselling yourself so hard.
I don't want to sound really cool. I want to sound realistic. I don't want to be a fraud and say that I was something that I wasn't. That would be terrible.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll let you off.
Okay. Which jobs on the careers site are only for us? QA and dev. We have specific job openings for that right now, I believe.
Cool.
And I believe in the future we might even get some more graphics assistants. So keep an eye out for that. I said maybe in the future, perhaps. I don't know. I don't know. That's not a guarantee. Let's have a look. See. Does the merch store ship worldwide? I'm 100% certain. I'd say just check the website. It will probably let you know. Do you have a degree related to your job?
What I did was I went on the internet and I did a course which took me 3 years. That was called a higher level diploma. And it was based in Canada, so they said it was some form of degree. But I was just like, will you teach me how to do all this stuff? So yeah, I did that. I passed with honours and on the president's listing as well.
Get you.
So that was
Good
nice.
job. Good
so
job, Gareth.
I kind of wish it was a degree, just so I could say that I got a first in the degree, but I didn't. I got it over the internet basically.
Cool.
Paid a lot of money for that.
I didn't.
It came through the post.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm afraid.
Ah, okay.
I went to sixth form, so I was about to go to uni. Then I didn't.
I don't know. I think like degrees are a great thing, and well done to anyone that's got one. But yes. I don't think they're essential.
We always get on this topic. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, we do.
We always talk. I mean, I'm not like off stream as well. We have a lot of very, very nice discussion topics. How can I contact recruitment? I'd say wait until you get an email response confirming or denying your application, and then they will get in contact with you. What does QA actually entail, and what qualification do you need? Qualification not necessary. We definitely believe that experience of the game is very, very important for QA. You can always teach somebody to QA. You can't really teach somebody RuneScape as easily. Day-to-day job is bug queues. Like, for example, like when you put bugs in game, when you report them, we see those pretty much within a 2-hour period. We see that pretty quickly. We have regression is a term that you might or might not know, which is when a job comes through and you test it and you go through all the cases through the critical path, which is the path that you will go through when you're playing the content, versus destructive testing, when you're trying to go the opposite way to purposely break it, etc. Fix trivial bugs, sometimes make stuff, sometimes we do dev if we have to. It's quite varied, to be honest with you. Shockingly, I'd say 40% of the job is probably QA, which to a lot of people might sound like, wow, that's not a lot of QA, but it's like a lot of other stuff is almost admin. You're getting your test cases sorted out, you're doing regression, you're assisting with bug fixes, etc. There you go.
You also, like, because you have creative input, like you give me feedback like quite frequently, don't you?
That's another thing. Well. We've write feedback. I was just trying to give a TLDR, but yeah. So for example, I saw a model from Gareth the other day, and we either comment on, do we think it could break in certain areas, why it could break, does it actually showcase, there's a term, I can't remember what the term is, but it's like showcase. Like, it's like portray, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like, you know, like when you're, let's say a creature is healing from you and siphoning life. It is showed in a way to make it look like they're doing that.
Oh, telegraph.
It's telegraphed, thank you, that would have killed me, yes, it's telegraphed. Like, does it telegraph what's actually happening? Does it not? Like, those kind of things we give feedback on as well. Yeah, there you go.
It's actually good, like, I encourage all of us to really listen to QA. Like, no, it is really important, just because you're people that actually, like, play the game more than anyone, to be honest. The devs play it a lot, but I think you guys definitely do play it, like, more than most.
9 hours a day.
And also, you're very good at feedback. So generally, I think like our QA team's actually good at artistic feedback. I get a lot of feedback off Mod Rock. I was speaking to Modcast the other day as well about some animation feedback.
I'm very happy that you said that. That makes me really happy. I mean, one of the things that I so before I worked in old school, I worked on the MTX team, and on that team, well, this was like 2 years ago. On that team, especially for like outfits and things like that, like you learn to. Do you remember Zoltan?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Do you remember Zoltan?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So Zoltan was a principal artist that worked with us, and he taught us like the correct way to say things almost, which sounds stupid, but when you say, for example, that doesn't look good, and you can't give a positive reason why, or an actual legitimate reason why, it kind of diminishes your like why is it bad?
Yeah,
that's not good. But yesterday, for example, you also avoid saying the word bad. Don't say bad. Yesterday, for example, I looked at one of your models and I said, I think we've done a lot of edge kind of stuff before. I'm trying very careful.
Yeah, not to use spoilers, yeah.
And the way I described it was, could we do something more curved for the silhouette? Could we instead have a more organic living thing to make it different? Then
we can be specific enough to say that it was a spell, basically.
Yeah.
And we've used like a lot of particular visual styles for spells over the last couple of months, and we really need to kind of shake it up a bit, really, and do something that's a bit different. And it's I kind of said, yeah, I know.
you were like, yeah, I was worried about that. I was like, you go, thanks for telling me, but I was kind of aware, and I was like, okay, sorry. Yeah.
But it's nice to know we're on the same page, really.
It's not recycled content. It's created from scratch. It's just, you know, sometimes you just need a brainwave of a different way to do something.
Yeah, sure.
Or a suggestion. Somebody goes, wow, actually, no, that's a good idea. Or so yeah.
He's going to have lightning, by the way. So
he is. Sure.
Yeah, he's going to have lightning.
Giant Kawanwan boss confirmed. Let's have a look-see. How do you guys feel about alchemy tablets? I think we've had that question asked before on the Q&A, and we've kind of unanimously said, no, we don't like that. Bring your runes, is what we'd say. We don't like the concept of it saving an extra inventory slot. We don't want you alching everything if you're not willing to take an extra couple of inventory slots.
I've taken to laughing like I smoke. Going.
You know when you don't laugh, you find something funny but not very funny. One of my favourite things to like respond on Twitter when somebody puts something that's funny, but I don't go ha ha ha, and I go. I now type slightly exhaled like harder through my nose, and everybody knows what it means because everybody does it when it goes.
There needs to be like a word for that. Like you could call it a smeh.
It's an exhale, isn't it?
An exhale.
Like a nose exhale. Like, or a snicker? It's like no, because snicker's like.
You're not sniggering.
But yeah. Could a student apply for a trainee position? I don't know exactly what we do for interns, but we do have an intern scheme, I believe, if you're at university, and we usually, whenever they appear, they'll be on the career website. Is there a word for this laugh? There is a.
Oh, someone said snort, but no.
No, it's not. It's
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
You're allowed
He
to-
laughed quietly. A short huff of air came out of his
A
nose.
huff.
It's not.
Maybe that's
Scroll
where,
down a little bit.
Maybe that's where the term Huffington Post comes from.
Breathed laughter. Maybe. Breathed laughter sounds about right. Like a
Breath laughter. It's not a chuckle.
It's not a
Who said
chuckle.
that's a chuckle?
Yeah. A scoff? No, a scoff is. Oh.
Someone said a chuff.
No, I don't think it's a chuff.
It's definitely
Let's not say.
that.
Let's not say words.
Okay, I'll stop reading off the internet.
We're done.
I know it's
Okay, let's
dangerous.
get on with your work. Get on with your work, Gareth. Get animating. Well, you're animating the warp cycle, right? Is that what you're doing?
That's
Okay.
right, I am, yeah. Oh, just so everyone knows what I'm doing at the moment, I'm just making it his upper body sort of turn from side to side, so when he lunges forwards as he walks, it feels like he's really reaching.
Adds power.
Yeah, that's right.
We spoke a lot about that before, actually, as well. So one of the things that like Zoltan taught me was how to express those kind of stuff with animations and stuff, and how he went about doing that. And we were talking the other day about how, I mean, I think we spoke about this before on stream, where like when you snap back, if you jerk a limb in a way that it's not meant to, animation-wise, for like one frame, you don't really notice it does it, but it adds an impact.
Okay.
And I don't know why I'm doing this because it was of the Ent boss in particular, where you, like, yeah. And similarly, when you stretch things to a point that they shouldn't be, or distort them in a way just to exaggerate temporarily, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I've learned a lot from the lead animator on RuneScape over the last probably 6 to 8 months. He's told me a lot of things to do, and we're really kind of like trying to fit them into our animation style. So often people's feedback is invaluable, especially if they really do know what they're talking about.
I'm not trying to not look at you in the eye, but I always feel bad that when we're not looking at the camera, so I'm always trying to do this balance of like stare at the camera, but at you as well.
Oh, it's fine. I'm only deeply offended.
only slightly deeply. Is this boss unique? It's a boss that you will find within the Theatre of Blood.
That's right, yeah.
I don't want to say and butcher its name.
Sotetseg. Sotetseg.
Sotetseg.
It's spelled you can see it on the screen here if anyone's curious. S-O-T et seg. Sotetseg.
Sotetseg. Okay. There you go. Sotetseg.
We need like easier names.
Yeah.
I feel.
Why is it not Bob?
I thought like
it's not a very menacing name, Bob. Actually, you know what I mean?
I've got a name in my head and I think it might be cool, but it's in my head, so I won't know until I say it out loud.
Okay, come on, hit us with it. Come on.
Well, because the Night Beast is the Night Beast, and this is somewhere between the Night Beast and an experimental ideal by the vampires.
Okay.
I came up with like a word with a double meaning, and called him. You ready? It might suck.
I'm so ready. You've hyped this up. This needs to be really good.
Midnight.
I wasn't that impressed, to be honest with you. I'm sorry.
It sounded better. It always does, doesn't it?
Midnight sounds like a what does it think me of? It's a little I don't want yeah, it's that pretty much. It's a little flamboyant.
It's flamboyant
for a bot. Like when I think of Midnight, I think of like a very sexually like femme fatale kind of vampires. Like Midnight,
do you really?
Voila. Like it sounds very theatrical.
Yeah.
Not something that you'd call a massive beat.
Look at my face. I'm gutted. Can you tell? I feel like someone scooped my insides out and dropped them on the floor.
The entire chat blew up.
Someone's. I'm really disappointed in myself. How am I going to live this down? Alright, I'll see you later.
No, don't go. We need your animation. Come back. To be honest with you, and it doesn't happen very often, but I think Bob might have been better.
No, it wasn't. What is with people and Bob?
Fred?
I thought of something that sounds like Boaty McBoatface the other day, and it rhymed perfectly with one of our bosses. I can't remember it now. I'm just making it worse. But I'm going to get on with what I do best, which is just the graphics.
This is why we can't ask the chat, by the way. This is why we can't ask the chat what to call it, because they would say something like Beastie McBeast or Tusky McCornface.
The community came up with Zora, and I was really pleased with that name.
That's good.
And it's really memorable. So they've got a good track record from my memory. Is there anything that they come up with that wasn't so good that we put in this game?
Well, no, we've not put it in game.
No.
If it wasn't good, we'd put it in game.
Well, it depends, because if it's like a unanimous decision and we could have like 3 names and it goes
true.
forwards. You're allowed to have an opinion on these things. I don't think anyone will be offended if you think...
I don't think there has
been.
been. I don't think there has been.
Okay, alright. It was a very safe answer.
I don't think there has. I really don't. Some of these names. Was Daizura a name suggestion? I don't remember the name suggestions.
The top name was Nagini, but for obvious reasons we couldn't use Nagini. Oh, sorry, it's Voldemort's.
The snake.
Horcrux snake.
That would have been cool. Why couldn't we say that?
I think it's just because it was. I don't know. I don't know. Well, it just felt like a bit unoriginal.
I like that name.
I loved the name as well, and everyone else loved the name too, but it just felt like we were ripping off J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, that's true. We could have just done what we usually do, rip it off and then like slightly change it.
Okay, so what you like, zucchini?
Like
Called it that.
Mig? Migiri? That's probably got a name. You know, like, isn't... How do I spell that? Let's see.
What, Nagini?
Oh my god. I thought you said nigiri, like the sushi. I was really confused. Okay, I'm with you.
What is nigiri? Like the sushi?
Is it nigiri, the sushi?
Aye.
Nigiri is the one with the bowl of rice and the fish on top.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Alright.
Okay. It's the generic sushi, the stereotypical sushi, I think. I don't know. Is there not... Oh, can you guys not hear the music, by the way?
Oh, because they're not here.
I don't know, somebody said that they couldn't hear.
Oh, okay.
As feedback, the back paws look a little small, according to the chat.
There's all sorts of things going on with the back paws at the moment. Don't worry, I will get there.
See, I always quite like... in the regular Dark Beasts, they're quite small as well, but I think it's because whenever they attack, they rest on their forearms. Like, their forearms are their main...
Well, you just check out the back when it animates at the moment. It's kind of like, it's all over the place. I really need to do like
Yeah, he's got a strut. He's like BGing down the street.
He is, unfortunately, isn't he? I think I may have made a terrible mistake.
He has skipped leg day. It is a bit of a swagger.
I hate swaggers in creatures when they move.
He's got a big swagger going on.
Oh, hang on. Let me just try something quickly before I undo all of that. I'm just going to try and straighten his head out and see if that helps.
But you can tell by the way I use my walk, I'm a Dark Beast man. No time to talk. Music loud. No, get flipped around.
Fine. It's fine. I'm just you go do your thing.
Actually, on that note, Mod IEs will be coming down very shortly. I need to go because I actually have an appointment in 30 minutes and I need to pedal like a madman to get there.
What's your appointment?
We're not going to talk about that.
Okay.
So take care.
I see you made it.
It's nothing bad. Don't worry. Take care. Thank you so much, Gareth. You can actually get work done now that I'm leaving.
That's cool. I've got to fill up some time and talk about what I'm doing now. I'll do my best to talk to you guys, but unfortunately I'll probably just have to talk about what I'm doing, which might not be as exciting.
Take care, matey.
Cool. Thank you very much, Mod Wolf. Okay, so as we've now had one guest depart, we can take a look at the schedule again and see.
I'm not pregnant.
No, he's not pregnant. He's going for an ultrasound. So we've got Mod Aiza coming down at 2:30 PM. It's now 2:31 PM, but he's welcome to come down any time within the next couple of hours, and we will welcome him with open arms. Cool. Right. So I'll carry on with the Dark Beast. Are you okay? Awesome. Here he is. Here's the man. Drum roll, please. Oh, nice one.
What
Thank
are the
you.
tissues for?
I've got a bit of a sniffly nose. So, yeah.
I always get a sniffly nose when I'm doing these. Just recently, one of my eyes likes to water.
Oh, and just like crying in front of everyone. You're so
time
emotional. You're so in love with the community that it just brings tears to your eyes.
That's exactly what it is. Okay, so I'm just going to take a drink. Mod Aiza will take your questions.
I will. Hey guys
That's
and girls. From Nickelback to Jagex. I don't know what the relevance to that is.
Do you like Nickelback? Start off there. see where it goes.
Do you know what? Actually, I didn't mind Nickelback back in the day.
Okay.
You know, a bit of Photograph and what was the other one? This Is How You Remind Me. Those two
right,
bangers.
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I went a little bit different from you know, downhill from there on, let's say. But
oh, there was that one from Spider-Man as well, wasn't there? They did a song for Spider-Man. Hero, that was it. That was okay, I guess. When I was studying, I listened to Nickelback for a couple of days and then just kind of
yeah, that was enough.
drifted away. Yeah, drifted away from
2 days is for Nickelback.
Yeah. He sings from the bottom of his mouth, you know, underneath his tongue.
Really?
You know, like that noise.
It is that bit of
same
noise,
as
yeah,
Pearl Jam.
Yeah, I'm not going to try and do it now on stream, but someone asked, why don't you make the verts in his head straight or something like that? Why don't you make the verts straight in his head?
Oh, the verts. How do I make... Right, so the verts straight in his head.
It was something like that anyway.
Okay.
It went so fast.
Did you miss it? Okay.
Yeah.
Please ask again, and we'll do our best to just have a look and see what you said. Verts. Can people... oh, I love you too, Air Zero. Can people in this in the chat put multiple comments in, or do they have to wait for a period of time before they can enter it again?
Yeah, there shouldn't be any
There's
limitations.
There's no limitations.
limitations
Okay,
on
that's
spam.
cool. Cool. So just ask away. Sorry if we missed your questions. If the more you keep repeating them, the more likely we are to pick them back up.
Try and grab them. Troubled Jaker says, did you use any concept art to bring on this design?
Oh, this design here.
Yeah.
We've got Dark Beasts in game already, and then we sort of moved on to do the Night
I
Beasts.
found it. Mr. OSRS, why don't you straighten the verts in the head/neck area? That was it.
Okay, was that for the walk? I'm not sure because they're already quite straight in the walk.
There we go. They're already quite straight.
Maybe he asked that whilst I was doing it.
And it was just from earlier.
They, I should say. I shouldn't presume it's a man, should I? It's quite bad.
I do that all the time. It's, yeah.
The worst thing is where people go, he or she.
Yeah.
Afterwards, it's going to clear that they've done that quite frequently.
Any news on open beta for mobile? None that I can give you right here, right now, but I know that there was a post put out recently. We obviously extended the iOS beta. And I think when the next steps are to look at an Android, like extended beta of some sort. But we'll be releasing information very soon, I'd imagine, in terms of what we're doing going forward. So, Dragon Rider King says, what's the progress like rigging a model like this?
For a model like this,
And does it work the same as other programs?
it kind of doesn't, unfortunately. I can show you over here. So if I show you the labels.
Wow, that's a lot of labels.
Yeah, it's a bit tricky, isn't it? I'll try and reduce it, so selection only. So what will happen is I will just select this just here, and I'll make it not transparent. Okay, so if I select some labels just here and I turn these on, you can see that this whole section here is labelled up as head.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, apart from that bit, I've accidentally labelled head as well.
They don't look like it should be a head.
No, that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to have to edit the base in the middle of the stream.
Really?
That's not very good, is it? Oh well.
It's okay. We're showing people that, you know, this is what happens in live production.
That's it, yeah, this is...
and the issues you have to face.
Exactly.
So if anyone had a question was, have you ever accidentally labelled the wrong part of a base? Yeah.
I have.
Uh-huh.
Every day. I do it all the time. So you can see all of these split up into sections, and say if I want to label this, I just press Control and L on my keyboard and this little interface comes up just here, and then I just enter my label and just say something like art. Yeah, all of these labels come up. They're already pre-existing.
Okay.
Or I can put a new one in, and then once I've just got this whole thing covered in labels, you see like every single part's got its own label. I'll just run down the sections for you quick. So yeah, you get the idea. This is underpants label just there. See, looks like a pair of pants. It's funny.
Diaper.
Then what I have to do is I have this list over here, and you can see all the labels that exist on a model just there. And as well as unique labels, like this one just here, you also have that one connecting to the left foot just there. So there's just tons and tons of labels and connecting labels all in here. It looks really confusing. So what I have to do is I have to select this arm section just here, and I have to create what we call a transform for it. And that's the point just there called the origin, where the little dot sits. And for that origin, I assign it this part of the geometry just there, so it knows where to go.
Okay.
And then the rotate which is just here, which controls the entire arm.
That was so like typical. Imagine the birthday card. There's a little thing that you can, well, like pop-up books.
Like a pop-up book. Yep, that's it. That's the level we're working on.
Oh, dear.
So all of these pink ones just here, that's all those labels that exist in the arm. And as I go down, you can see. Oh, you could have seen. Okay, so as I go down, you can see the number of pink labels get reduced as we go further down, until finally we're just kind of left with the fingers right at the end just there, and just a single label in those. So that's how we rig up. That's not really how most rigging systems actually work, but it's perfectly doable, and you end up with a skeleton all the same, which you can manipulate using the transforms. So basically this is more sophisticated than the equipment they had to make Toy Story 1.
Wow.
So if you think about Toy Story,
how that came together,
then it's fine. Absolutely fine.
Wow. So I just catch a couple of questions that I've seen fly through. Actually, not a question, but there is a lot of talks where it's no longer known as the Theatre of Blood. It's now known as the Theatre of PogChamp.
Theatre of PogChamp?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So PogChamp's obviously, it's a good thing. It's like, oh my god, that's cool.
That's awesome. I'm glad people feel that way.
And then we've had a couple of people asking about challenge mode raids. So that's for the Chambers of Xeric. We announced challenge mode. That was polled. The poll closed today. If you haven't already, make sure you go to the poll booth, because there is another poll live for Bryophyta, the Moss Giant boss that was developed by Mod Kira in his tap time, who normally works in the IT department. So that's really cool. He learned how to dev and put that together. Yeah, so that's live. But yeah, basically I think challenge mode raids, I would say that you should expect it relatively soon. I don't know an exact date yet, but I think that we're looking at getting it out sooner rather than later. And that's as much as I can give at the moment on that. But I would imagine that it will be before Theatre of Blood, because we want to do a Chambers of Xeric qual. So having the challenge mode will be really good, because we'll have rooms that people won't normally have gone to, and then that will give us a lot more feedback as well to go through and actually look at the rooms for the normal version of raids. So hopefully that helped.
What's the Moss Giant boss called?
Bryophyta?
Bryophyta. Okay,
I think so. I keep calling it Bryophyta.
Bryophyta?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound quite as cool.
No, but it's the, I think it's the scientific name for moss.
Oh, okay.
So it's a moss giant boss.
That's really cool. Well thought out.
Who is this mod Babyface? Why did I read that one out?
Oh boy.
Do you know when you start reading, then you're like, what?
Hey, be grateful. Like, they don't even ID me thinking that I'm like, you know, under 25 anymore.
I got ID'd for some monster the other week.
You got ID'd for some monster?
Yeah, it wasn't actually because of the monster, so I front that in the wrong way, but I do it on purpose, obviously. No, so now you have to be 16 to buy energy drinks because of the level of caffeine in them. And obviously I was at the Tesco self-checkout, scanned it. It's like, age-restricted item. My thing turned red and someone came over and was like, have you got an ID, please? And then I just turned around to them and the woman looked at me as if to say, what? Why are you looking at me like that? And then she looked down and was like, oh, I thought you had alcohol. I was like, no.
Oh, okay, right, that definitely explains it.
So,
I'm starting to feel quite jealous there.
no.
He looks under 16. And I look over 25.
So someone's asked if we can explain the World 47 Deadman thing. We have already stated at the start of this stream, I think Wolf mentioned it, that there is a statement out. Check it out, it's on Reddit. We've covered it there. We'll also cover it again in the Q&A later on today, but it's not going to be the focus of this stream, sorry. If you want to direct your questions towards anything to do with art, graphics, myself, Mod Ghost, Theatre of Blood, feel free, but we won't be covering that topic for the rest of this stream. Apologies. What will be your next haircut, Mod Ghost?
I'm actually going to grow my hair long now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I used to have it long when I was younger.
I used to have long hair too.
It's nice. Kind of feels natural that way.
I used to love my long hair, and then I got it chopped off. I thought I'll try a change, and then I just never went back again.
I think you've got. I'm in the in-between phase now that everyone discusses. Whoever grows their hair long, where you can't do nothing with it, so I just have to like gel it back and leave it there until like a year's time.
Yeah, you have to get through that. There's the very like intermediate stage where it's just too long to do anything with, but too short to be considered long.
That's right. Yeah.
So some people are asking about the RevCave dev blog as well. RevCave dev blog is ready to go live. I'll talk about this again in the Q&A, so you'll be able to get a bit more info there. But the bottom line is that at the moment I don't have enough time myself to dedicate to going through feedback, and it would be very pointless for us to put out a blog where there's no one around to actually check what people are saying. So until I know more about my schedule freeing up, which at the moment is very busy, it will be put on hold. But the blog is ready. We have the rewards kind of put together, and that's just the take that I'm going. So apologies if you would like to see it, but I don't want to have to be in a repeat where we put something out, you guys see it, and then 2 months later you're like, what happened with this? So I'd rather us put it out when we know that we can dedicate our time to it. So will we ever see an end/continuation to a few quest lines like the Red Axe or the Eyes of Gluffery? Maybe. I think everyone, like, not everyone, sorry, there's a few people in the team that really want to look at doing quests. So we have a lot of quests coming up as well. I think, you know, we've obviously got the Taste of Hope that was polled. That,
yeah, that's right.
You know, should be coming out relatively soon, along with Theatre of Blood and everything else that comes along with that. We've just released the new quest for Zaya, Tale of the Righteous, I think it was. Yeah, so there's definitely potential for other quest lines to be expanded on. I don't think there's any immediate plans, but, you know, everything's a possibility.
Yeah.
So.
I think with quests, like the first one we did was Monkey Madness 2.
Yeah.
And we were very unsure how much the community would want quests back then, because a lot of the time it was mainly the Slayer updates and PVM that kind of pleased most people. But over the years, quests just seem to have been requested more and more, time and time again. So that's why we get more quests now. So basically, the more popular things are, the more people ask for them, the more likely
more chance
are
they're
to
going to
do
happen.
them,
You know, if you shout about it, then. Someone's asked, what quest would you like to see have a sequel the most? Ooh, that is interesting. Originally, I would have said Monkey Madness 2, but we have a sequel to that now. Then I would have said Dragon Slayer 2. We have a sequel to that now. The next one that I want to see is Desert Treasure 2. Got an expansion to Desert Treasure, I would love that. Just because it was one of the quests that I hated doing when I was younger, because I just put it off for so long. And I always have very vivid memories of the time I actually finished it. I was even noobier back then than I am now, so it felt good.
I'm going to think on the quest one, because I'm not sure really.
Sure.
I kind of like the Zaya quest lines at the moment, but it'd be nice if, because I know they're often like very small quests.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to see where they go, because they've just got so much potential. Because I remember like when we first started reading the lore for them, when we were working on Zaya, it's very exciting. And Mod Matt K wrote a lot of it as well. And I'd like to see more stuff to do with the Dark Altar. I'd like to see maybe an alternative dimension to do with the Dark Altar or something like that.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Well, we've obviously got plans in place, haven't we, to put together now more quests for Zaya. We've got the foundations of 3 of the houses. I think we've got 2 more to expand upon, and then, you know, who knows where that's going to go. I think there are a lot of teasers in Tale of Righteous towards expanding on the story, and a lot of people were coming back with feedback saying that it gives you that sense of something big is about to happen. Maybe something big is about to happen. Desert Treasure 2, but the treasure is Dragon Balls. You can make any wish you want. Maybe. Any chances of another skillet or skilling boss? I think there's always possibility. Schneipin. It's a great name. But yeah, I mean, it comes down to community suggestions. If you have an idea, feel free to pop it on the forums, Twitter or Reddit. Tag a few of us and we'll have a look. So what format do you use for your animations? So I think I read that right.
What format? Oh, what's the output file?
I assume so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So we use files called frame files. I think they're just basically rudimentary text files. So all of these labels just here and all of these transforms get given a coordinate. Say like if I'm rotating this shoulder just here, you can see it's got some X, Y, and Z 3D space coordinates just there. Oh, my voice went a bit strange there.
That's okay. Now you're turning 16.
So you've got a transform just here. So in the text file, it will generally just say transform. Then it will list all the labels, and then it will tell it to be at this position in 3D space.
Okay.
And then say if you've got something where it moves it, like in the directions, you'll have data down here. It'll just record that.
The position that it's moved to.
That's it. So then basically the compiler puts all that into a format which can be read by the engine. And then away we go. So it's just basically a simple text format that we output to, which is kind of used in-house, but nowhere else as far as I know.
Fair enough. Interesting. I love coming in on these because I always learn so much about the programs that we use, because it's not something that I would typically get to see or or talk to anyone about, other than the odd occasion I come over and have a quick look at what you're working on and ask you about something. I did see a question from DMNC Diaz, I believe the name was, that said, it was a question for you in fact, what's the reason behind roofs in old school being flat?
Roofs in old school being flat?
Yeah, so the roofs that you can toggle on and off, I guess he thinks
okay, so you've got the outer edge which is beveled, and then the top is completely flat.
Yeah.
It's mainly because we use a roof kit.
Okay.
So because the size of a room can vary, so say if this will be kind of useful if I just go to this and then show the floor. So show floor. Let's delete all this.
Oh my god, you just lost all that work.
That's fine. That's fine.
You can do it again in like 2 seconds. Right?
Yeah, that's right. I do everything in 2 seconds. That's how long it takes me. So say if we make a roof kit. Let's say this is the outside edge with the colour just here. And then I move that to the edge just here, and then I want to have a corner piece just here. So for the corner piece, press D. For the corner piece, let's say that is red. Make it red. And then say we want another edge piece, so we've got like green around there, green around there. So we build using all these pieces, which are symbolised here, a outer edge to the roof.
Okay.
Now if we tried to build an inside which also sloped up, then we would need lots of separate pieces to slope up from these green pieces, which I'll just demonstrate for you quickly now with some more coloured planes. So say if I want a piece which matches between these two just here, I'll just move.
It's not suddenly got so much bigger in size to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But one of these things could be, I'll just show you quick. So like, say we want a corner piece here to fit between these two greens on the edge, then we have to introduce a new piece of kit. So, and we'll colour that one blue. Okay, colour that. Okay, then if we want to have more corner pieces, we can just rotate that. That's fine. That's relatively cheap. Now we've got one that needs to fit with these flat edges just here. So we have another piece of kit, which we will colour yellow. Colour. Okay. So you might think, all right, that's easy enough, right? We can do that. Until you then expand the room again.
And all of a sudden it's now...
We need more pieces.
Yeah.
So we then have to duplicate this, and we have that in the middle, and we need another piece to then go in the centre here, which is still doable. Let's colour that one, say pink. Until we then go, right, so let's expand
and then you're
this
like, nope.
again. So
can't do it.
On and on it will just go until we've got tons and tons of pieces. Now an easier way to do that is just to basically say, I can't tell if I'm selecting these or not. Okay.
So many people confused all these coloured squares now.
Yeah, I know.
A Rubik's Cube.
What's easier, however, is if I just have one piece in the centre, and I just do that all over the place, and
fills in nicely,
yeah, it fills in the space, but we end up with a flat roof.
Okay.
And that's why we have flat roofs. A timestamp of that.
Yeah.
The flat roof explanation.
1451, because the Earth's flat. I mean, because otherwise there's too many tiles that it takes up.
I get that reference, but I won't do it the justice of discussing it any longer.
Okay, so any more questions in the chat, feel free to @RuneScape, at Old School RS actually. I'll try and get a hold of them and ask them. It does go through quite quick though. Oh, we just got someone subscribed for 3 months in a row. Hey, Kemp Q. That was a little bit of sellout there. Hit that follow button, smash the subscribe.
Oh,
all proceeds go towards charity. So.
Do they really?
Yeah, we put to all of the sub money goes towards our the charities that we work with.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. 15 questions just came in. I've got to stop looking at your way. They're too fast.
Okay.
I think you answered about qualifications, but just quickly, did you do any qualifications before you got this job?
I've got a A-level in fine art. I've got my GCSEs.
Okay.
That's a joke.
Okay.
No one really cares about GCSEs,
No.
right? It doesn't matter. Okay, so I've got an A level. I've got a high level diploma as well in 3D modelling as well, with honours. That was it.
Cool. And then the rest is just like you built up so much of
The rest
your
is
own
history.
portfolio.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, the thing is, in that situation, imagine you get to the point where you secure yourself a job. It's almost then the rest of it goes off your experience. So there's no real need, I guess, in your position unless you wanted to learn a brand new software or technique.
Well, when I was looking at doing this, I thought I could actually go to university because that's why I did fine art. I also did fashion design as well at college, and then someone put me onto 3D modelling. So originally I was going to do fashion design.
Okay.
Then I thought I can spend all that cash on university and be broke, or I could just go on the internet and see if they do some online courses. I found an online course that was based in Canada, so I ended up just applying for that just to see what it was all about. It wasn't too expensive. I think it cost me about £9,000, which I just took out a loan for, and that's like 1 year at university.
Yeah.
So
something like 11 grand now, I think.
yeah,
so.
and that's not even like the cost of living. So I just did that, and I worked when I could to like earn money, and I've already paid off my student debt and stuff now. So it's kind of like I did it for financial reasons, just so I didn't want to be caught in a debt trap. But yeah.
Fashion design explains why the models you make look so good.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I've got a background in working in operating theatres, which gave me a really like in-depth understanding of human anatomy, and also doing fashion design as well, and then moving on to character modelling. They do have
it all tied up into
they
one
do have
thing.
kind of.
So I guess you get the idea of like how things move and internals work, and then you get the how different colours and shapes and stuff look good together.
That's right, yeah.
And then you can just design it all into an actual thing.
That's right, yeah.
Look at that, transferable skills. That's what's important. So people are asking for an O-Ball pet for the free-to-play community. I don't think that would ever happen. I mean, I might be wrong, but I don't know what the community's opinion is actually on free-to-play pets, but I can't imagine that it's going to be a yes. So, with 3D modelling, where did you study, and what program did you use to learn? You just said the studying, but what did you use to? What was your very early designing?
So I started actually doing digital design when I was a kid, and my dad used to collect Spectrum computers, and there was just like pixel art programs on that. I was about 6 years old when we first had those, and I just used to spend all my time doing animations, sometimes with a cap of 11 frames.
Okay.
And I just used to sit in our computer room just doing that all the time. Then I moved on to just like MS Paint, then Adobe Photoshop became something that you could have on home PC, so I started doing that as well. And then I started using Duke Nukem Level Builder as well.
Wow,
so
okay.
I started
doing a
doing
bit
that.
level design.
Yeah, and then I just moved straight into like music for a couple of years and completely left art. Then that didn't work out, so then I got into fine art and did like sculpture and painting. And then I just moved into fashion, and then moved on to this.
Yeah, into this. Wow. There you have it then. Your whole life story.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
Are we considering making new Slayer monsters, let's say with 95 Slayer requirement? I don't know of any immediate plans that are in the works, but sure, I guess why not? At some point more Slayer, higher level Slayer monsters wouldn't be a bad thing, but not right now. I think we've had enough Slayer updates recently.
Hey, you never have enough Slayer updates.
We've got a lot of really good high level PVM content coming out with Theatre of Blood, so let's see what that brings first. Can the Moss Giant boss drop the rune, scimitar, or axe? Would be amazing for free-to-play Iron Man. I'm sure it will. I don't think I've seen a drop table for it as of yet, but it is in the works. I think that's something that's being worked on today. In fact, now looking at the poll results, it's fairly positive. So we've said that we'll spend a bit of time and looking at doing a drop table and balancing that earlier rather than later. So maybe I'll have more info next week. Anything on old school RuneScape HD? This gets asked quite a few times, and I know that we've answered it a few times, but for those that haven't ever heard about the old school RuneScape HD, what would it mean from a graphics resource if we were to go down the route of HD?
So apparently last time we did HD, we had a whole studio of artists working on updating models so they could work with the adjustments that were made to the engine, and a lot of the work was also outsourced as well.
Okay.
To other artists, and currently, as far as I know, that took like roughly like 8 months to a year to do all that work. So if we were going to do it with 3 artists, it could potentially
take years.
It would take years and years and years to do it with just us. And as we've got content to deliver in the meantime, we'd also have to have a group of artists also doing what we do currently. So just for something that's like an aesthetic update, which would essentially mean that we're not really old school anymore anyway. It's like people would come back for that nostalgic experience and be like, oh, it's 2010.
So it's interesting actually, because there's a lot of people that have, you know, support for HD and they like the HD look and feel. But I'd probably say there's a lot more people that actually like the graphics within old school, and that's what pulls them towards the game. And for me especially, personal opinion on this one is that with the things that you're doing recently and the new monsters that we get in and new environments and how detailed things are getting, I don't think there's any need for it. I think it looks fantastic because we have such a niche kind of like style. When I look at what you do at the moment with these bosses, they have almost this kind of like I think like a watercolor kind of like effect to them. I don't know how to explain it, but it reminds me of Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda game. It's very cartoony, but not cartoony in the sense that it's like anime style. It just looks really, really nice, and this suits my style perfectly. So sorry, I went on a bit of a tangent there.
That's cool.
Any more questions, please feel free. I'll stop talking about my own things.
Well, we can keep talking about like the HD thing.
Oh yeah, the HD thing, yeah. Go ahead.
So I think I understand what people mean, because when I look back at games that have been remastered, the example that would come to mind for me would be, say, the first Resident Evil game. I've seen the remastered version and I played it and completed it, and I just could not go back and play the original now.
No, because you've seen it, yeah.
Because that was just so cool and so nice, and I really appreciated playing that. So there are like these visual recreations that look amazing, and you really appreciate them. But then there's other games that I played that I've gone back to that were, say, on like the PS1, where if someone did an update to them, yeah, it'd be great, but I still wouldn't be able to be sort of taken back in time to when I was a kid playing this stuff. And I think if we lose that from old school RuneScape, then it would impact a lot of people's sentiment about the game. So I would always be really cautious about doing that, and the consensus we'd have to have on something like that would have to be more or less everyone, otherwise people just wouldn't want to play it.
Well, I think I can only imagine it would ever happen if it was toggleable, and at that point then we're then looking at 2 different teams to work on graphics, one for the old style and one for HD, right?
Yeah.
Unless you can obviously become super efficient and do double the amount of work in the same amount of time, which I think you guys are efficient enough as it is. So
yeah, we can't do any more, I don't think. But yeah, I think like it's been said before, but the most important thing is we actually just deliver the content to players instead of maybe getting lost in just trying to achieve something which is, like, looking at the evidence on it, quite unachievable.
That's fair. Communication, but is there any way? I just seen another question, and I've missed it now. Sorry, it's about Slayer Cake, but I couldn't fully read it in time.
That's right.
Are the old school RuneScape and RuneScape universes interconnected? I don't believe. I think we're separate, right? We've gone down a different route in certain areas than what RuneScape have. So I would say that we have, we try and keep everything so that it makes sense between the 2 different games, but we're not restricted in the sense that we have the freedom. If we wanted to do something a bit different, we can. Well, I think that's the stance.
Yeah, more or less. My understanding of it is we can have different plot threads, but there are things that must remain canon. So, for example, Zamorak, although he's not featured heavily in our game, like physically, he must always remain to be the god of chaos. Saradomin, although again not featured in like physically, he must always be the god of order.
Yeah,
the world must always be called together.
I think there's like certain lore things that will always be the way they are, because, well, Eleanor itself is a world.
Yeah,
and that
that's
world
right.
has a story that's attached to it, regardless of that being old school or RuneScape.
Yeah.
It's, you know, yeah.
So much like, say, something like an Arthurian legend, it would have like premises like the king is Arthur, the wizard is Merlin, the villain is Morgana, but the sort of wherewithal as to how those two interacted
Yeah,
wouldn't be as important. So like our subplots can change.
completely. I think that was a good way to describe it. So, well, I hope it was. How many raids are planned for old school RuneScape, says Scotty WWW36. I think the only one planned so far is Theatre of Blood. I've not been made aware of any other raids apart from challenge mode for Chambers of Xeric. It's not necessarily an entirely new raid, it's a new version of an existing raid. Will there be more raids in the future? Who knows? Maybe.
I hope so. We need to do a trilogy at least.
Am I using a Ghost Speak amulet to talk to Mod Ghost? Ooh, I'm not, but I probably should.
What?
So there's the Ghost Speak amulet.
it's a joke.
Oh, okay. just double checking. No. Does the challenge mode raid have new mechanics, or is it an upscaled raid? I believe we covered this in last week's Q&A, but there are no new mechanics with challenge mode raid. The major differences are that it will be a linear raid, so it will be the same layout, rooms, bosses for everyone every time that you enter, and then there'll be a certain amount of additional difficulty that will be added that I won't go into detail on. Modgos is actually using the human speak amulet.
Ah, very good. Very good.
They're smart.
They are smart.
When is the Theatre of Blood being released? Said Nico UT1. I am not going to tell you the release date, but I think we have one like in mind, but it's not 100%, so I'm not going to try and act like it's definite and tell you. So
Cool. I suppose the answer is soon.
yeah, soon.
No,
It'll be out this year.
Yeah, that's it.
Definitely out this year. Is it next year or this year? For Fear of Blood, it'll be this year. I think the chat's probably a
it's
little bit
this year.
behind as to what I said, so you probably hear that and then hear it again. And here come the soon this year TM winter 2017 memes. All right, guys, we get it. We get it. This one is coming soon. Maybe we'll release a release date like in the very near future. But again, I don't know. But I'd imagine that we might. So, what is the most fun monster you have designed? Said Mr. Obissus, I think.
It's actually one for Theatre of Blood that I can't talk about.
Okay, cool. So let's move on very quickly. How big is this boss model compared to a character?
Okay, yeah, that's a useful question, actually. I will find out for you just now. I just realised I did a copy and paste and it's gone wrong.
What has happened to his little claw?
I know. Never mind, I can copy paste on the opposite leg anyway, so I can do that soon. Right, so what does he look like next to a character? Let me just find a file where I can just drag and drop it into here.
Cat of Tropic. Yep, all good, thanks, Mod John. Would we be seeing a quiver-slike whip that would provide a melee or magic bonus? I don't know. I don't think there's anything. No, well, I'm not going to say I don't think there is. There's definitely nothing that we have planned or in the works or in a backlog of any sorts. So I don't know. I don't know how people would feel about that. Again, I've said to a couple of suggestions for content. If you have any ideas, if you want to see some cool item in game, feel free to create a post on the forums, on Reddit, or make a tweet, send something our way, have a look at it. What do you think the recommended requirements will be for the theatre? Lots of good gear and lots of good combat levels. When will you guys start answering questions from your YouTube chat? Said Hunt Nerds. Wow.
Can't really have both chats on the screen.
Yeah, that's a difficult one to have.
Try it, see how it looks.
I mean, we could trial it.
Give it a go.
I'm gonna see how it looks. I've tried it before. It doesn't usually fit that well.
So it's quite big.
Is this raid going to be purposely designed to not be soloable? I don't believe so. Said to forehead_chat. Oh, I know what they're going to do now. But I believe that we're not shying away from mechanics or difficulty because of the fact that someone will be solo. So it's balanced between 3 and 5 players. Yeah.
So that's how big it's going to be.
Okay. It's fairly big then.
It's quite big. I'd love it if you could just like get on that and ride it. That'd be awesome.
Mounts to old school.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, I think if we have both of those open, I'm not going to be able to see the questions.
Yeah, the chat's going to go too fast, John, if we try that.
That's how it looks, essentially.
Okay.
Okay. The YouTube one's okay, but
Can you zoom out on the...
I can do,
On
but
it.
they won't be able to see it on the set later on, so
Oh, okay.
you can't do it for both.
it's fine. We'll just we'll
Okay.
stay on the old Twitch. Sorry, YouTubers. This is the way it is for now. Insert comment here.
Is it possible we could get it on one of these other monitors as well?
Yeah, I can do
I
that.
could actually, yeah.
Cool.
Oh, sorry, John.
That's right, pausing the tapping.
Someone said that John isn't helpful, and I just want to say that you are so wrong because John is one of the most helpful people in Jagex.
Oh, thank you.
Every stream that you see, every Q&A, the behind the scenes, this man works his buttocks off to get everything done. So
He actually has no buttocks left.
no, he
He's
doesn't.
worked so hard.
I will not try to disprove that.
Yeah, no, please, we'll keep this on PG. Will there be an exact raid rotation for challenge mode that changes every week? Norway_out. There's none that's going to come out with the release, but the cool thing with challenge mode is that we have a huge amount of potential to change things up. So we could have seasons, we could have different rotations for different reasons, and switch things up as and when we want to. So we're going to trial it, and then if it's a success and people like it, sure, we'll do as much as we can in as many different areas.
That's awesome. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Hopefully it helps.
Interesting.
Oh wow! So we've actually got YouTube.
Yeah, we have
So
YouTube
this
now.
is like the YouTube comment section live now.
Yeah, the one place to avoid. We've delved into the enemy lines.
I want to see who our YouTube audience are.
Can we get an update on the thieving changes, when and where? No update to give you at the moment other than we are in the process of still collating feedback. We had thousands of responses come through and we want to make sure that we get the best solution before going ahead. And that's about that, unfortunately, all I can give you, sorry. Will challenge mode let party leaders customise raids, or will it be set by JMods? Raid leaders will not be able to change the layout, it will be set by us. And it will be fixed for as long as we determine until, as I mentioned before, if it's really successful and people want to switch things up or have different seasons, then we can look at that. Nostal on YouTube asks, any thoughts on adding more cosmetic items for people who like Fashionscape to Clue Scrolls? Okay. Sure. I like cosmetics. As long as they're achievable and you can get a hold of them, then I have no issue with them at all. I think a lot of people will like them coming from Clue Scrolls. You just have to be careful of what items and how that will impact the kind of other ones existing and stuff. But I'm sure if you have some designs, again, feel free to send them over. Is there a 100% Darkberry drop from this bad boy? Said Skeletoon. No. I don't think so. So with the Theatre of Blood, you won't get a huge amount of loot leading up to the final boss. The main crux of your loot will be, at the end. Up to that point, you'll just be rewarded a little bit here or there for your efforts, but you're not going to get anything significant. So no, unfortunately, you will not get a guaranteed dark bow. Jill Sam on YouTube asks when the Revenant uniques are being polled. I did address this earlier, but for anyone that wasn't here before, benefit of the doubt, I will just say that the blog is ready, but I'm not ready to take on the feedback from it. I don't want to put something out that we can't guarantee we'll be able to get to you in a good time. So until I have more time to focus on it, it's been put on hold. But the blog's ready to go as soon as that moment appears. So it could be this week, it could be next week, it could be a month from now. I'll try and get a better date to give as to when we plan or intend to have something out by as like the latest. But I haven't had a chance to do that yet. Apologies. Any more questions related to art or graphics or this design stream in particular?
Why have we seen Mod Ghost animate the same leg for the last hour?
Is this because you deleted it by accident and had to do it again?
No, I didn't delete it by accident. It was I accidentally copy pasted over something, which is a bit of a shame. But no, it's not related to that. It's mainly just because I'm trying to experiment on how to make this leg look decent when it moves.
Okay.
And then like after that, I just copy paste all of that onto the opposite leg.
Ah.
So I just have to do one leg, then copy it over. Just wondering how much time we've got left on this stream. So
It's 3:15 now.
yeah, so
15 minutes left of me. And is someone due in at past?
there's no one due in at past. No. Okay. So
Well, if the
That's
guys
strange
don't mind
at
me
all.
staying around, I can stick around until Mod Ash appears. If
that'd
you want the
be
company.
amazing.
Yeah.
That'd be really good.
Okay. After I've just said that, I don't have time to dedicate to revs, and because I'm on the design stream.
You're doing good work here.
It's been a very interesting week, so yeah. This is my chance to just re-engage back with you guys. So, Hello 2030 says it's fine. Just give us stick figures and the boss with a big head, and Raids 2 is done. Mod Ghost, do you know what Alt F4 does yet?
Yes, I do. Oh, brilliant. Do you know, I came to work after that stream and the internal chat had mentioned that.
Yeah,
so,
that was great.
Unfortunately, people had seen that.
It was great.
Oh, dear.
How does the loot system work with the Theatre of Blood, says DrewBiz96. So the loot system will, I believe that we mentioned that death is very punishing, so dying will reduce the chances of you getting a unique from the final boss. Throughout the raid, you will be rewarded here and there for your efforts, up until the final boss, which is when you have the chance of getting a unique. And yeah, that's pretty much it, as much as I can tell anyway at this moment in time. Can I flex? No. Sorry.
Flex?
Yeah, flex. Do a little gun show.
Oh, okay, alright.
Yeah.
No,
No.
it's not that kind of stream.
It's
You
definitely
can
not.
find streams for that somewhere else.
Sure, there'll be 1 and 2 in the IRL section. You can do gym sessions and stuff on IRL. Most people do. So
Oh, really?
yeah.
What is IRL?
In real life. So you do in real life streams on Twitch.
Ah,
So
okay.
non-gaming content, basically. What major programs do you guys use to design the game? From Mr. Adesis.
Major programs. We use 3ds Max, and that's. We sometimes use Photoshop to do the sprites and the occasional texture, because we do have a few textures for things like rooftops and water, etc. in game. Trees as well, we use textures on still. But other than that, that's about it. Photoshop and 3ds Max.
Okay.
It would be nice if we could eventually animate through Maya, but that's quite a long way away. But yeah, in the meantime, we're using this
Mm-hmm.
beautiful technology.
So when you say to use Maya, is that something that that is being progressed on in terms of developing our tools and like integration between other pieces of software, or is it just a nice thing that you would love to have?
It's something that I'd like to have.
Yeah.
We do use Maya within the company, but in terms of our progress on doing it for this, I don't see. I don't know enough about it to talk
Okay, that's fine.
intelligently on it. Yeah.
Yeah, just do it me, but that's as much as I can give you. Sorry.
Yeah.
I never answer a single question. I just leave everything open. My worst question taker. Would it be possible to give the option to increase the game's text size for people with poor eyesight? Vibbles, that's a very good question. It's not at the moment. I believe that the functionality would come with scaling interfaces, which is something that I guess kind of has been worked on as part of mobile, but it's a different process to get it working on desktop. but I imagine that in the future we will have some instance of, you know, scalable interfaces. The future being anywhere from now to the end of time. So I don't know when, but I'd imagine it would be a possibility, yes. Okay, there's a few YouTube comments that we're just not going to read out.
Oh, go on.
No, I actually can't read them out. These something updates are quite useless. Okay, I'm sorry you feel that way. The name is ironically a hater, so yeah, it fits.
I think in general people like our updates. I don't know. Yeah, because we do like review things to see we're doing a good job. We don't just insist that we put into game what we like, and we poll things as well, don't we?
Yeah, of course. Everything goes through a poll, and we have for big projects. You know, there's always a retro where we discuss what went wrong and what we can do to improve. I think, you know, one of the biggest ones obviously was with Road Caves and the way that got released, and everything that we've done since then to rectify.
Yeah.
And you know, we're still obviously, time permitting, looking to improve on that. So you know, if something goes out bad, we generally know about it as well, because you guys will let us know, and we look to do what we can to fix it when we can. So
what was the point that person was making then?
Oh, there wasn't any point. That's why I just...
Oh well, they must have been making some point. They don't really. Where are they getting the information from? People not liking what we're making.
It's the internet.
Oh, okay.
This is what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, that's a shame.
It's one of those things that you just accept it and we just move on.
Okay.
Any more questions? There's a lot coming through. There's a lot about content though, so sorry if I'm ignoring your kind of like content suggestion questions. I don't intentionally mean to. They just fly by so fast and they're so long. Did you learn how to use 3DX Max at school/university, or did you learn while employed at Jagex? That's another from Mr. Abesis.
I learned at university with 3ds Max, and then I just continued to use it here and just learn more every day from using it frequently.
Okay.
So yeah.
Marshall Mueller says, just want to say this monster is looking amazing, seriously.
Oh really? Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for saying that.
It came from YouTube, so...
I must say I like that YouTube audience equally as much as I like the Twitch audience. Very good.
There's a few people asking about what's my favourite game, but that's not RuneScape. It's a different game, but I think on the RuneScape stream we should probably talk about RuneScape. So.
Oh, that's all right. We do sometimes talk about other things. Sometimes me and Mod Kieran talk about movies.
Oh, okay.
Netflix when we're on here, so it's fine.
Well, everyone keeps asking what's my favourite Zelda game because I'm wearing a Zelda t-shirt.
Okay, cool.
But I think it's one of those games where you don't have... I personally don't have a favourite game. I have favourite, like, games that fit particular categories.
Okay.
So for, like, most nostalgic for me was Ocarina of Time. Best art style is Twilight Princess. Best one for gameplay is The Wind Waker. Best older game is Link's Awakening, and I would say that best game overall is Breath of the Wild.
Wow.
So
you've really thought about that.
Well, I'm a huge fan, so...
Cool, man. I don't know if I've got a favourite game series. I tend to like Silent Hill.
Yeah.
I love those games so much, but they haven't released a Silent Hill game for ages. It's been too long. So in the meantime I've been playing The Evil Within. I love that series. Basically I like all the horror games. They're my favourite.
Maybe saying like a lot of Resident Evil inspirations with other monsters and stuff you've worked on, right?
I love Resident Evil so much. I don't really like it since they went into more of an action game based format. I kind of preferred it when you literally had no ammo, no weapons, apart from just like a really sparse amount distributed throughout the game. And also I like the fixed camera style that they had originally. It's very cool.
Okay. I remember the first Resident Evil I played on the PlayStation 1, and I could never get past. I think it was like there's a mansion that you go through, and there's one room where you have a weapon with like 3 bullets. And I could never do it, so I just never played it.
Okay, man.
And then I played it again later on in life. So, hey Novasi, I can see you there. You just said hey to me in chat. So, any other questions in here? Someone keeps asking for a green or blue version of that Anki outfit. Would we mind making one? We can't make one right now, but I imagine that in the future we can add it as part of a cosmetic. Like everything's almost possible, right? So
It's like Minty Anku.
Mintanku, yeah. Someone's asked, any news on when we get to see the backlog list? So it's actually the next thing that I'll be hopefully working on. It's just obviously the last couple of weeks we've had a lot go out and a lot of things happen. So a lot of my time has been tied up. But yes, the backlog is one of the next things that I want to work on before the end of this quarter. So that'll be leading us to, is it June? I think? I don't know, something like that.
I honestly don't know. No, I don't know. I think until we've got Theatre of Blood out, we're pretty much tied up on stuff, aren't we? Yeah.
Oh, I love this. The backlog list is on the backlog. It's so ironic, but it actually, the reality is it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, we all have priorities, right? And there's things that we've had to sort out that are a lot more impacting for you guys that you might not see yet, but you'll see in the future.
Mm-hmm.
That you know, there's a lot of things that are happening in this time, and we have a lot of announcements to make. We were getting a little bit of information today about a certain event that we'd like to do, but that's all I'm going to say.
That's exciting. It could be dangerous if you say anything more.
Yeah. Well, everyone knows we do an event. I just had a little bit of information, so that's cool. But yeah, there's a lot of exciting things coming up. So yeah, unfortunately, it's just on hold for a little while. Business opportunity, hire the Salmons guy for head of JackX marketing. Oh, I love that guy on Reddit. There's a guy that's in the Grand Exchange who is selling salmons, but his name is Salmons, like salmon, but with a an ES instead of just NS at the end. And yeah, he's just selling salmons, and everyone takes screenshots of him. It's quite funny.
Salmons.
Mod Ghost, have you read the manga Berserk?
I don't. I'm not really into manga. I used to. The only comics I ever read was when I was a kid. I was obsessed with Mortal Kombat. Like when I wasn't even a teenager. I used to just play those games all the time. And I think manga distributed a comic for Mortal Kombat, which I thought was just awesome. It's not well. If I think back at what those comics were like, it would probably the storylines were a bit basic, to be honest. But
Yeah, then use your imagination though, right? So
yeah, I suppose so. But I just thought some of the pictures were really great in them.
yeah, I think that's one thing that strikes me with a lot of kind of like anime things is that I just like the graphics.
Yeah.
And they're cool. So any news on Jar of Blood drop to make the Blood and Bone altar to skull and unskull in the player and house? I'm not sure, Snake, sorry.
Right. Okay, so just to update you on this, I've done both the arms and mirrored them. You can see like the shoulders kind of lift up on them. It looks nice and heavy, but if you look at it from the front, it just doesn't look like there's any movement going on around the centre just here. So what I have to do is create a transform just here so the back kind of oscillates from side to side so it feels like it's shifting its weight. There also needs to be a bit more movement in the neck as well, and also the body kind of needs to move up and down a bit as well, I think. So yeah, there's a fair old amount to still get through with this.
Okay. Well, you can see it coming along now though, with it moving in
it's starting
comparison
to get
before,
together.
So.
The last thing I'll deal with is those back legs just there, which are a bit messy at the moment. They're terrible, actually. It looks like frog legs. I think they could do with being a bit larger as well.
Okay.
It looks a bit too small. It looks cool from the side, but from the back it's just a bit peculiar.
Yeah. I think they are very small legs in comparison to the front. I know that's the whole, it's a mutated beast of sorts.
But yeah, it's a bit too accented, really, isn't it? It needs to... Yeah, okay, cool. Right, so my next thing here, I'm going to be dealing with the back. Yeah, it is skip leg day, absolutely. I've seen some guys down the gym that look like that.
Oh, this is a really good question I wish I could answer.
Okay.
But I can't because it would give away things. But what is it? Oh, wait. What have you noticed that is the most unique feature of Theatre of Blood? From a designer's viewpoint. Okay, there you go.
What's the most unique feature?
Yeah.
Now I'm just trying to think through all of the features in Theatre of Blood, which is a lot.
For the ones that
find out
for
what's
ones
the
that they've
most
seen, I like the Maiden's animations.
They're okay. I mean, like I first started off, but everything that I'm working on at the moment, because I always get like really engrossed in whatever I'm working on, and everything else outside of that doesn't really feel as cool or as interesting. Because I think if I was thinking about doing something else and how cool I can make that, then I wouldn't really be committed to whatever I'm doing.
So you just focus on the one thing.
Yeah, that's it. So I think that what I'm working on at the moment that I can't talk about is the best feature, which is really unhelpful.
Cool. Do you know what? Actually, I was in the meeting this afternoon for the Theatre of Blood update, and I say accidentally, I wasn't around last week on Wednesday to attend, so I've missed the best part of 2 weeks worth of progress, and I'm just going to say it now. I cannot wait until people see. From what I've seen, even though it's there's a lot of areas that are very well near finished, but a lot of areas that still need touching up. But everything that's gone into this, it looks incredible.
Cool.
One of the boss fights in particular is most definitely the unique feature, but I cannot tell you about it. I wish I could. It's so good. I can't wait until people see it. So yeah, there's a lot of things to look forward to with Theatre of Blood.
Yeah, someone's saying what we said earlier about increasing the back of it to make it larger. Okay. Yeah, you're right, really. I'll make that back bit a bit larger. It's a bit odd at the moment. So I don't know if I'm even going to get this done by the end of this stream, but is it still okay? So we just chat and people find this interesting?
I don't know. How do they feel?
Am I expected to get this done? I feel like I am.
Are you carrying on with it whilst we're going through the Q&A?
Yeah, I will be.
Okay.
Yeah, so people can kind of come.
So we have a good 45 minutes or so where I'm not going to be constantly chatting to you and distracting you.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I'm just conscious that people might start getting quite bored of seeing that for like the next.
They're like, just
hours.
chat about video games and movies.
Just looking at you anyway.
Take your time, just looking. Oh, well.
That's fine.
Interesting. Okay. So just chat. Okay. All right. I think the general consensus is that we're good.
Okay. Cool.
A little chin wag whilst we're here.
Good. So no more breaking the fourth wall discussing the format of this, right?
Oh dear.
Okay, so what I've got to do now is I've just got to make this top of the back move. So this is a good way for me to illustrate how this skeleton works just here. Okay. So what I do is I find a place which is nearest to the back, which is shoulders just here. And you can see from the shoulders we move down into the head and neck, which is on the list just here. So what I have to do is insert a new origin using this interface, which is basically a new point on the skeleton. And I'm going to call it back, upper.
Okay.
If there's not already something called that, there's upper body. Actually, I'll just call it like back lift. Traps. They're traps. They should be called traps, right? Okay. So I enter that in and then insert a rotate below that. Now you can see that origin is just kind of drifting right in the center of the stage, just there. So I need to tell it where to go.
Okay.
So what I do is I turn on the labels just here. So we draw the labels and then we zoom in and you can see we've got body front just here, which is roughly where I want it to be. So in this filter down the bottom I type in body front and there it is right there. So you can see that that origin now moves to the middle of where body front is. Then on this rotate just here I then also select body front, and as well as that I also want to select everything that body front connects to most likely. So I'm just going to insert what's called a translate one, which will also kind of just lift this up and down like so. So what I can do with that as he walks, just move these out of the way and stop him from moving. So as he walks you can see that I can actually lift the back up and down now as well. I can also make it rotate from side to side slightly too.
Okay.
So that's basically how this is going to work. I just need to kind of do it with a little bit more style and care as we go throughout. So that's what I'm going to be working on for the next, say, 20 minutes.
Okay,
syncing that up with everything.
So within then, so hopefully by the time Mod Ash joins us at 4, which is in 30 minutes from now, we'll have kind of a more of an animated back whilst he walks.
Yeah, hopefully.
Cool. So a few people have asked why are we designing the boss based on a dark beast rather than a nail beast, which already exists within Mauritania. I personally don't know the reason behind that. I'm sure there's a reason, but I would probably just say that a lot of the creatures and bosses that you find within the Theatre of Blood they're not necessarily there because they were found within Mauritania. They're there because they're abominations, they're experiments, they're beasts that the vampires have gone out and obtained for Lady Verzik's entertainment, and experimented with them and tested what they could make, and there could really be anything in there. So
yeah, that's true. I don't have an answer for that other than what you said. I'd assume they've gone round all over the world, because I haven't been like writing the lore for this and actually acquired these creatures to actually put in there. Yeah, I think I just got the brief. I was told it's a dark beast.
okay,
So,
there you go.
That's
That's
all
cool.
the insight I can offer.
That makes sense. Is there a cockatrice creature? Maybe.
Could be.
And a kraken? Maybe. And a jad? Maybe. A zook? There could be even 3 in there. Who knows?
There could be many things. I mean, don't expect to sort of. Is it the Tower of Life where you've got all these sort of
Oh yeah, the
peculiar creations?
things that you can
Don't
put together.
expect to like have anything on that level.
So yeah, someone just mentioned about spoilers. I think a lot of that information was listed within the actual Theatre of Blood dev blog, that these are creatures, abominations, and experiments. So
Yeah,
I don't think I spoiled anything there.
well, I think as well, there's a certain amount of responsibility you have to take in when you sort of tune into a design stream that's going behind the scenes of how
Sure.
a project's
I
going to
mean,
be
this is a
developed.
spoiler in itself. You've seen the
Yeah.
boss before it's released. So how many jads has Kieran added? I can't say.
Hopefully none. We don't really want Jads.
Come on, you meant to play along with it and be like, were you meant to have said that? Does that thing have a name? If it doesn't, I would suggest the Blood Beast says, pleased peasant.
I'd be careful, please, peasant, because I said midnight earlier and everyone started saying terrible things about me and the model as well. I'm not sure if Blood Beast is going to do much better than that. It might do. What do we think to Blood Beast?
Someone says so creative.
Oh, okay.
Blood-starved beast, yeah?
Starved beast. Well, we could make it very skinny.
Yeah, we could. But that wouldn't be too... I wouldn't mind that, actually,
That'd be really freaky, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
'Cause-
I'm thinking, like, going back to Resident Evil, the zombie dogs.
Oh, okay,
There's,
yeah.
like, parts of them just, like, not there.
They're Dobermans, aren't they?
Yeah. Imagine they're
So you
like a
can't
dark
go for
beast
that.
that half of it just doesn't exist. Because it's, like, I don't know, been cut away.
That would be cool. I was thinking of maybe having something about this, as it looks like it's been chained up at some point.
Okay.
So I might add additional things like that to it if there's
Big
time.
bloody beastie boy.
Big, I don't know if can we say bloody? Because it sounds like in the context of that.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Well, it's too late now.
I've already said it twice as well, haven't we?
Oh, bloody hell. So the boss does have an actual name, right? I can't remember
does.
how to pronounce it properly.
It's Sotet Seg.
Sotek Seg. Okay, there we go.
I kind of like that because it sounds otherworldly.
Yeah. Hemogoblin. I like that.
Was it Hemogoblin?
Yeah, Hemogoblin.
That's amazing.
Okay. I'm not reading that one.
Where is it? Can you point it out?
No. Emo Goblin. So yeah, any more questions, feel free at Old School RS, anything that you want to ask. If we can try and avoid content suggestions that aren't related to Theatre of Blood or the stream, just because it will help us keep everything on track. I don't mind answering them, but there's a lot of them that there's just too much detail for me to get through. So a nice quick question about what's happening at the moment, what's coming up, what's Ghost's best thing to do with art, and that kind of stuff. You're also welcome to ask anything. It's just I might not see it, and I apologise. So, how's your day? Says Tricat.
It's going great. I was really stressed out getting everything sorted
Yeah.
for the stream this morning. I'm glad it's all started, and I can just sit here and just do my work and
Get on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of like the same after the whole incident yesterday, and that put a hold on kind of getting the updated blog out for the Moss Giant boss, and obviously we had to pull out today, so I was a bit concerned that it was a very fast turnaround, but
Yeah.
then it turned out well because I was comfortable with the feedback we'd had, comfortable that what we'd done was the right thing, and it seems to be passing in the polls now, so you can just kind of go, oh, That was good.
Yeah, it sounds like you did it well, man.
We got there. Someone says, who puts the examine options in game?
Generally the person that writes the config, they might get edited. Like often I'll put an examine in and think, oh, that was so funny, and then I'll check it in game and be like, oh,
it
weren't that funny. Because someone's come up with a better one. So yeah, it can really be anyone. QA will check them, and I generally put a note on the job if I've put an examine on there, just in case.
So people want to check it out. And,
yeah. I also do things like in the internal like chat as well. I'll kind of ask people for suggestions for what an examine should be.
Okay, that's cool. I think as you say, a lot of the devs do. That's one of my favourite things about old school is examine options. They're the thing that I always, whenever there's new content, I'll run around and I'll purposely not do it as part of a playtest. Although sometimes I have to check for errors and stuff, but mostly I'll like to just jump in game and just spend an hour to just waste time and just check everything, and just you get to know the person that's developed it a bit that way, because you can see the sense of humour and kind of like what ties they bring in, and like, yeah, I get that. Okay,
that's cool. So, I didn't know that.
Will we be getting lore of the bosses in Raids 2? It says, hi, I'm Google Fox. I think in terms of lore for the bosses, actually, it's a really good question. Ed's probably the best one to ask that, so I'll have a chat with him before the Q&A and find out. But it would be nice if, I'm sure that he's got some very good ideas in terms of lore if he hasn't already. So
I'd probably be surprised if we didn't, because we did last time we did a raiding dungeon. Yeah. So it might come in the form of a drop from the boss, maybe, or there may be another place to get it from. But yeah, I wouldn't see the point in writing all of that. So we've got all the lore and the system.
Okay. How many bosses still have to be designed? Well, that is a question you are not getting an answer from on this stream. What's your all-time favourite old school RuneScape monster? From Lawrence LG.
Oh, sorry, man.
That's okay.
My favourite all-time old school RuneScape monster. Oh boy, I'm going to say one that I'm doing on this project again that I can't talk about, and that's really not helpful.
That's fine, because they'll understand when
it
comes out.
It's a stupid question, because everyone's going like, no, just tell us one that we can talk about. So I'm very sorry. Yeah, I should do that. I'm going to do that right now. I think probably Zook would be my favourite.
Okay.
Just because I had a lot of fun making him, and I was also I'm kindly predisposed to him because when I was watching the stream when we released that content, no one had seen him before, was aware of him.
Okay.
And it's really nice to see.
It was great when they just like, what the
yeah, it was so cool. So it's definitely that one.
Cool. I think for me, it's a relatively recent one. It will be Vorkath.
Cool.
Yeah, I loved the whole quest and the lead up to it and everything else, and Vorkath off as a boss, I think is fantastic. So it's definitely my favourite.
Oh wait, sorry, that's wrong. I like Vespula the most.
Okay.
I think that's one of the most clean models that I made for the raiding dungeons, and the
it's definitely a good model. I think a lot of people will disagree because they don't like the encounter, but as an actual boss model,
like the encounter?
I think it's one of the ones that needs a little bit of like TLC to make it just on par with the others.
Oh really? What didn't they like about it?
I think it's, I can't remember exactly, but I'm sure it's something to do with the way that the damage works on there and bringing it down.
Okay, fair enough.
So I can't remember 100%. But yeah, there's something about it that needs a little tweak.
So it's not like that it's boring to play or anything like that?
No, I just don't. I think it's, okay. You know, a lot of people with raids, they scout for the best kind of like layouts because it's randomised, and that's one of the ones that will typically just kind of like get left.
Okay, fair enough.
I think it just takes longer because it can heal of some sorts.
Okay.
I don't want to try and carry on trying to remember. I have it listed down somewhere, but I just off the top of my head can't figure it. Oh, here we go. You use way more supplies than any other boss. You basically need prey enhance, or you waste a ton of prey. Okay.
Okay.
Is the design team experimenting with future technology, for example, VR or AR?
Or our design team? No, we've got no plans for that for old school.
How cool would RuneScape VR be?
I think it'd be good, but you'd need like input from the team really, and you know, it's kind of it's just.
I think if we're like too far, like I think if if HD is a little bit of a big project, I'd imagine that virtual reality scape is probably a bigger project.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, anything else we do outside of this, you know, our day-to-day stuff is always going to detract from the game. So it's really difficult to do anything else.
I'll tell you what, though, that would be it would be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be really cool. I wouldn't mind doing that.
I'd be like running him in my room and someone would come in like, Hazel, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, no, I'm gonna beat him. I'm gonna beat him. PK'd or something. Oh dear.
Cool. So I've actually finished this back. That didn't take too long.
Okay, there we go.
So back's kind of.
You know what you're saying about doing things in 2 seconds? You really live up to that, don't you?
Yeah. I just don't like to blow my own trumpet.
Okay. Do we have any more questions that are coming in? People are saying, whoa, PogChamp, that's good. Spaghetti Swooty. It's because of the way it moves a bit. Can you guys please, this is the same person that asked about AR, VR. Can you guys please not change old school RuneScape too much? Any changes that we do make will be big changes like that would be community driven, and we would never do anything like change the way the style or design or anything like that without considering it with everyone. And you know, that's pretty much all I could say. I don't ever imagine we would do HD if it didn't go through, and I mean that's even saying if we ever would do HD, I don't know.
I think when people say, because the terminology is quite vague to that question, so the person said too much, so it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
That can vary per person. It's quite a subjective term. So that's why we have a polling system to make sure we don't change it like too much outside of the median expectation of our community.
Yeah.
So don't worry, it's kind of like the poll system's essentially there to make sure that could never happen.
It's the right thing for the majority, and you know, there's always going to be instances where someone has a different opinion that they're not entirely happy about, and that's going to happen with every game. No matter how much you try and mitigate it, you can't please everyone when there's hundreds of thousands of people that play a game. We just do our best to please as most people and try and stick as true to everything as we can.
Yeah.
So, this is getting asked a lot. Would you add the burning amulet to the jewellery box in the player-owned house? I think it's probably possible. I imagine we could poll it. I'm not saying we will, but we could. Oh, they love your voice, Mod Ghost.
I actually don't like my voice.
Really?
So it's really nice that they say that. Whenever I hear myself, I always think, oh, it's quite a normal voice. So I don't really get it. But thank you very much.
It's a very like soft-spoken, smooth kind of like tone to your voice.
It's quite a disadvantage because most of the time people can't hear what I'm saying to them.
Okay.
So I have to shout. And you can see if I get quite close, my voice is actually quite like gravelly. So if I try and talk any louder than
refined.
that,
ooh, I like that one.
It hurts my voice to actually talk loud at people. So
okay.
I get quite lazy about doing it. And then people go, "What? I can't hear you."
If content got passed and turned out the majority of people didn't like it, I didn't read the last part, but I assume it's something to do with like, would you remove it? And I would imagine that the answer would be no, because if it passed, some people obviously wanted it. We'd probably look to do everything that we can to make it be in a position where more people are happy than unhappy. I don't know actually what we would do if we would just straight up remove something. I don't think we would. We could poll removing something if it went in. But it's an interesting question and one that I've never thought about.
Or to poll removing something entirely.
Well, I mean, we have poll removing things or preventing things from happening, but like a piece of content that people wanted and then didn't want. I mean, I know one example that people are going to say. I'm just not going to go there because it's about to happen in the chat.
Well, it's only hypothetical, so
of course.
What would you think?
It would be. I mean, there's always a lot of talk about delete rev caves because of the sentiment that came along with those. But I think when rev caves came out, as much as people weren't happy with them for the way they came out. Well, in fact, I don't think rev caves were the biggest of the issue. I think it was more the sentiment around the update as a whole, and that made the Revenant caves kind of like take the whole brunt of it because they passed with well over 85% yes. So there was obviously a huge demand for them, but obviously we had the reused assets where they were, and that obviously brought a lot of negative sentiment. But the actual rev caves themselves, take everything else away from it, all of the reused stuff and the recolors, the actual content that it provided was, I've not seen so much positive feedback from the people that engage with rev caves for any other update. It's been absolutely astounding, and the amount of people that have engaged with it actually is ridiculous. So I would say that a lot of people like to, you know, carry on with the whole meme with it, and I understand that completely. I'm not saying that anyone's wrong for saying what they do.
Yeah.
But I do think that actually there are a lot more people out there that enjoy it, and I think the things that we did to fix what we didn't do right the first time round was a very good move, and I'm very glad that we were able to do that, and I think what we're doing in the future for it as well will only make it even better. So you know, in that instance, I wouldn't want to look at removing rev caves now, because I know that there are thousands of players, and the data suggests, you know, I think it was something like a 57 or 47% increase in wilderness activity across the entire game when they came out. There's a lot more, and I'm sure that we had a target of, you know, how many people would go there as a rough estimation, and it was over 3 times that amount. So yeah, it's definitely one that we're going to carry on looking to improve on.
I think there's a lot of reasons why you wouldn't do that. The 3 main ones I can think of is you've essentially dedicated your team to work on a project and spend like lots of man hours and time, and which is the same thing, and money essentially on creating something, and then to put in the premise that you can then remove it.
Yeah.
Kind of from a business perspective, you can't really maintain doing stuff like that, can you?
I wouldn't imagine, no.
No, and as well as that...
Because, I mean, imagine, like, let's think that, okay, let's be realistic, okay? When Zaya first came out, there wasn't very many people that really enjoyed Zaya when it first initially released. Very similar to Rev Caves, but not in the same sense. Similar in the sentiment towards it, right?
Sure.
Look at how Zaya has changed now, and the things that have came along with it. Yeah, maybe they should have been there from day one. You know, hands up, they probably should have, but the scale of the project, a lot of things came with Zaya, and now there's a lot of cool new things being in there, and there's actually, again, a load of people that really love that. They love the quests, they love the stories, and the houses and everything else that's brought along with it. So I reckon if we were to look at Zaya today towards Zaya Day 1, it would be 2 completely different kind of like standpoints from the community. So
okay.
It has a long way to go, to be honest. Yeah, it does. I agree with you, Stenby. Completely agree with you, but I think that it's a lot better now than it was before, and I believe that there are some plans in the works in terms of TAP projects to do a few little redesigns here or there. So yeah.
Is that to the Rev Caves?
No, to Zaya.
Oh, to Zaya. Sorry.
Yeah, I think Mod West was working on something. I don't want to say anything because if it's his project, I don't want to talk about it without the full details. But I remember we had a very brief conversation around something that he was intending to look at going towards the community for in the near future. So
okay, cool.
Obviously with Theatre of Blood at the moment taking up a huge amount of resource and trying to get that ready and putting everything into it, I can't imagine it will be until after then, but yeah, there's some stuff that there's potential for the future. Will this raid be playable on mobile when mobile comes out and when the raid comes out? Yeah, just like everything in the game can be played on mobile. It's not just for AFK. Hey Aiza, I always upvote your posts on Reddit. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. A lot of people downvote my comments on Reddit.
I downvote your comments on Reddit.
Do you?
Yeah, the whole time.
I think Mod Sween does. I think every time I post, Mod Sween's got like a notification, he just downvotes me. Yeah. Do you know when we're going to get Tournament Worlds back? Said Mind Blown Jeff. I don't mind blow Jeff. Sorry. I like Tournament Worlds though. I'm trying to think if there's any content that we have that might potentially warrant them. I think the next time we'll have Tournament Worlds would potentially be to test Rev rewards, maybe, when we get round to doing that blog. Maybe they'll come out beforehand. Do you, this is an interesting question from Haggis RS. Do you think working with such a vocal community is stressful? Do you enjoy the streams?
I really do like these streams when they're going. It's a bit like tricky at times to prepare them because there's lots that goes into it behind the scenes and lots of time. and often you have to manage all your other work around doing these streams as well. So that's why I try and combine the two by just kind of sitting down and doing what I do throughout the day without trying to do something too ambitious. What was the other part of the question? The community, did you say?
Yeah, is it, do you find it stressful working with such a vocal community?
No, I really encourage people to be vocal about everything. I think even if you get comments from people where they've not really articulated very well what they think, occasionally people can be quite annoyed when they message to you. I think I prefer to know what I'm doing wrong and know that people can actually get in contact with me and tell me to stop doing it, or at least give their opinion on something for me to consider, so that way I can actually do whatever I'm alleged to be doing wrong correctly, or at least give it some consideration. What I wouldn't want is to be working on something and be thinking it was the best thing I've ever done and the community's going to love it, and then just put it out there and everyone absolutely hates it, and it's just like a big kind of slap around the face then, isn't it?
Okay.
So I think I'd much rather be in the state we are now, just not have that communication there.
No, I definitely appreciate the communication. So I'll tackle the stream one first. Yes, I love the streams. Personally, I find the Q&As difficult at times, mostly because there's a lot of kind of like suggestions and ideas that come through, and we're obviously players here, and we all have our own opinions on certain things, and I'm the kind of person that doesn't shy away from saying my opinion, but ultimately a lot of people don't agree with your opinions, as you would expect, because everyone has their own. And the thing that a lot of people tend to forget is that, an opinion doesn't mean that it impacts what's going to happen. At the end of the day, I work on behalf of the community, so it's even if I say one thing, it doesn't mean that that's the be-all and end-all, because we're here to listen, and that's what we do.
Sure.
In terms of the vocal community, do I find it stressful? I don't think I find the vocal community stressful. I think the thing that's the most stressful from what I do is when there's certain things have gone on and we've said things as a response, and you can never say enough, and I think that's the biggest problem that we face, is that we can never say enough to completely quash all issues. I'd love to be in a position to say, yes, this, but the reality is that that we can't always do that.
Okay.
So, yeah. Aside from that, I have no real complaints. There's a lot of back and forth at times, which can get not stressful, but it's just a little bit. You're like, okay, so I wonder why they're thinking this now, whereas last week they were thinking this. A lot of it is in terms of like, oh, there's too much content coming out, and then there hasn't been a significant update for ages. Hey, there's too many updates. You should slow down the updates, and there's not been enough updates. That happens a lot, and I get it. It's just difficult to try and kind of like figure out the mentality behind that, and there's like no pattern to it. And I'd love to be able to understand it so that I can make sure that the work I do reflects the community's thoughts and opinions at the time. But
okay, I think really what I try to remember whenever I communicate with someone from the community is you're actually talking to a person, and people can be quite unpredictable in what they say, not just in general, consistently even. They're quite different from day to day. I know my opinion on certain things can vary day to day, depending on a variety of factors, especially if it's, say, something that's mood related. You could have someone that's having a very bad day that just is not very good at articulating something. So I think you've just generally got to look across the board, and if you do that, the majority of people are going to have a moderate and balanced opinion. Yeah,
I think you're right. That's one of the things I think I learned very quickly when I first joined, was that one thing I definitely learned was the way you word certain things is like, I've always been a very much to the point kind of person, but when that translates across in text rather than in voice, it can sometimes kind of like reflect arrogance or just like dismissal of a problem. And that's been something that I tried to work on, whereas actually I'm not trying to say that, I'm just trying to get a response out as fast as possible, to say this is it, this is pretty much what I know, and at times that doesn't actually mean that it's the best response to give. Sometimes you have to change things up. So
okay.
Someone's asked us about who is making the music for Theatre of Blood. Particular name there, I'm not aware of, Spot, sorry, but the music team themselves have put together a few tracks. I heard a couple of them today actually, and we might potentially be able to show you some off next week.
Oh really?
Maybe.
That's cool.
Yeah, if they agree to it, I think we might get one of the audio team onto the Q&A.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and they've done some fantastic tracks already.
Yep, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, it's all been done in-house, I believe. So
you can't really do spoilers for audio. You have to listen to it. It's difficult to describe a song, so I can talk a little bit about it. Essentially, it's going to try and feel like one continuous track.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire theatre, and it's going to have various changes in pacing and mood based on which room you go into.
Okay.
And it will be very much suited to the visual style at the same time as well. So,
from what I heard, it sounds like what you've just described. So
yeah, I've heard bits of it, and it sounds very, very good.
It was very good. Well, another person has just walked in, so I think this is my time to bid my farewells.
It
but
isn't.
Fear not, I will be back in an hour for the old school Q&A. In the meantime, I'm going to leave you within the very much capable hands of Mod Ash. So enjoy, and thanks, Mod Ghost.
Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Hello, me again. He's certainly, or she, I can't tell.
Striking is well, you never can tell really.
Well, we never do model anything underneath. I've looked at the pictures.
They encourage me not to allow people to be able to tell. So,
well, somebody asked me the gender of the Chaos Elemental, so I just tweeted a photo of the underside of it, because just rotated the model to another angle and show them this is what's underneath it. Not a darn thing.
cool.
Guess Chaos Elementals don't do it like that.
No. Well, you know the drill.
Mm-hmm.
There is our people.
Yes. Perhaps you could fill me in on. Well, you said you got a war cannon there, then.
Yeah, we've got this going. So basically, I've had to do a bit of re-rigging all down here. It's the rig list just here for people with all the transforms, and I've got his shoulders moving as he's walking now. So I'm just trying to make him just feel very grounded, and his feet no longer oscillate into the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Dark Beast and the Night Beast as well, because when they were walking, the feet were just kind of very angular, and it didn't really feel like it landed very well. Now I'm just working on the back legs. I need to straighten them up a bit, and then I should be more or less good to go. I need to get like a shadow underneath him and everything like that, but as soon as this is done, then I can just take, say, the frame that he starts on, and then you just take that out and make that the idol, and then when that loops into this, it's seamless, so
awesome.
You never get those visual snaps.
Great.
And then after that, I can just keep him, I can just make animations from that pose. So say he's got this special attack, we can't go into too much detail about it, and no one would ever guess what he's going to do. So with that, we basically just introduce the shadow that we've seen on other NPCs, and maybe a few lighting effects, and basically revolve it around this idle animation and give him something quite brief, and then it's just basically me animating the smoke effects and stuff to make it feel like it's something visually interesting.
Yeah.
Without too much effort on the NPC side, so it's quite a nice thing to work on. And the good thing about this as well is we've also got the Dark Beast just here. If I switch him on so he's visible, so all his animations are visible to me as well. So I can pretty much. This was an NPC.
Like he goes faster.
He does a bit, doesn't he? Let's slam down. There we go. With him, I had to, or her, I had to load this NPC in. On the side, so you can see it's kind of a bit dodgy the way it moves now, but if we look at it from the front, you can pretty much get the idea. So normally what I can do is just move it so they're in the center, and then trace over the top of these animations. If I wanted to, I could just grab all of that and paste it over this NPC and then tweak it from then on. So it's quite a diverse process actually making these animations when you've already got an NPC which pretty much is inspiring what you're doing from the ground up.
Awesome.
Cool, so that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. A bit of info for you, actually. While you were doing this stream, we had the split sprint planning meeting.
Oh, okay.
And we put down that since you're making these animations now, in fact, we had evidence on Twitch in real time, we figured that doing the rest of Sotic 6 animations would be an appropriate thing to include in this sprint.
Yeah, sure.
Along with finishing off Verzik and her stuff. I hope that's all right.
Yeah, it's fine. I sent Mod Kieran a list of all the stuff that I intended to do,
Yeah.
and it pretty much had all of that.
Good, good.
So yeah, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Hope you don't have too much of workload for this one.
I think I can deal with too much of a workload for this one because I don't know about you, but I'm having lots of fun.
Well, the fact that you've had to make some of these things for the creative services team so that they can get working on other materials,
Yeah.
is something we're now trying to take into account rather than realising you've got to do several days extra work somehow in between your other work.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love an extra, as you put it, an extra 24 hours a day. That would be very useful.
Oh,
Wouldn't it?
God, yeah. Or maybe if we didn't sleep.
Yeah, that's always an option.
Mm-hmm.
It really is an option. Apparently, Einstein only slept for 2 hours a day,
Wow.
but he managed to live to quite a ripe old age and come up with some pretty good ideas.
During my holidays, I like to sleep for 2 hours in a day and about 8 in the night.
2 hours at 8 in the night.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
have a
2
nice
hours
nap
a
in the
day.
afternoon between movies or something.
I see what you mean. Right, I thought you meant 2 hours a day at 8 in the night.
Oh, no,
I thought
no,
it
and
was
another 8 at night. yeah.
Crazy. I would almost believe that, to be honest.
I do like sleeping. Anywho. So we've got that coming up, and in the meantime, I've got most of the code done for this person, this boss,
Oh, great. Okay.
which obviously doesn't look too good at the moment because it hasn't got the animations you've just made. But the model is certainly there in the placeholder environment, with its legs stretching in all hilarious directions.
Great.
It's been quite fun to work with, but we've got the special behaviour of the challenge coded up and basically working. And when Mod Rise got the environment done, I'll be pouring my code into it so that it's ready for playtesting.
Yeah, I need to get stuff done for Verzig ASAP, really, for Mod Kieran. But then I intend to go straight onto this, so fingers crossed we've got something that's coming together, maybe almost complete, maybe, by next week. So that'd be very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yes. Let's see, Dragon Rider King 2 is asking whether the animation moves the boss in game or whether it animates on the spot and moves with code. It animates on the spot and moves with code, but for the purposes of the animators like Mod Ghost trying to see what that looks like, the animated tool is able to give the impression of movement so that you can see how it would work.
This is what NPCs look like if they could run. That'd be great, wouldn't it? Is it ever possible for us one day to perhaps have run on our NPCs? Is that
Yes.
great? Okay.
Mod Atlas from Engine said that what they'd have to do is let us have a mode where the NPCs execute their move processing twice in a server tick rather than once.
Okay.
The tricky bit is we also wanted crawl mode, because you can do some great mechanics with that. Obviously run is more powerful and we want it for a lot more stuff, but RS3 got run and crawl in the same update and we were hoping they might be able to copy and paste out of that for us.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know how much of the code's reusable in that way or how divergent our code bases are, but we do hope to be able to get run one day.
The possibilities that would open up for us with bosses if we had run would be immense. What would you imagine to do for crawl? I mean, is it something you can reveal, or?
Well, what I used it for a long time ago in 2011 was the Polypole dungeon, where the NPCs crawl towards you slowly, and you can freeze them in place quite easily, and that also reduces their defence so that you can get a few easy hits in before they start crawling towards you again.
Okay.
And the thing you don't want to do is have them get right up close, because if they get close enough to you, they start kind of rubbing their infested bodies against you,
Okay.
and you take rapid unblockable damage from the fungal nastiness on them.
That's cool. So it's kind of like the mummy effect, where it walks very slowly, and when it catches you, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And if we did that in an environment without scenery, or without the same kind of scenery, then we could have one where you really do want to keep on the move quite slowly.
Yeah. Okay.
The animators at the time created creatures with the Ganodermic beasts they made. They gave them one big hand and one little one. The little one kind of flails at you, but doesn't do very much. The big one is used to drag it along the ground on its tummy.
Oh, I've seen that NPC before. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really peculiar.
Yeah, we've got a great concept artist on that project. Although, when I was discussing the kinds of creatures I wanted in there, I told him that well, I told about the Ganodermic beast. It's a great big lumbering thing that moves slowly, but you don't want to get too close to it. I told him about the Griffler Pine and the Griffler Rue. Like, you know, half mushroom, half hedgehog for the Griffler Pine, and half mushroom, half kangaroo for the Griffler Rue. And he heard me say half mushroom, half kangaroo. He just gave me one of those looks.
I'm not surprised.
Then he went away and made something god awful, and it's brilliant for what it is. I mean, it's kind of dead content, but
I remember you showed me the Grifflery when I was trying to do the mushroom for Fossil Island, which can be seen in the Varick Museum.
yes,
So yeah, I'm well aware of it. It's peculiar.
yeah, they put kind of headdresses on them made out of bones.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, today as well, we've got YouTube chat as well. I don't know if you're watching upstairs.
Oh,
So we've got 2 lots of chat to talk to.
yes.
So
They don't like centre partings on YouTube.
they don't know. Is that a meme or?
Well, no, this one just feels that our hairstyles need changing.
Oh, okay.
Probably more mine, but
I don't know. I think centre partings are cool.
yes. I was given this at school when I was 14, and I decided to keep it ever since. Well, I had a side parting back then.
I'm not too keen on side partings, I'll be honest with you there.
Neither am I.
Right.
Massdreams GT wants to know: will there ever be a way to try a free trial of membership in old school? Yeah, we did do that. Thing is, if we're going to do a thing like that, the aim would be to encourage non-members to like the members features and subscribe. That would be the aim of it. It wouldn't just be a free treat for everyone. We'd kind of want something out of it. Hey, company don't run on air after all. And the last one we tried, what we found is that a handful of people did subscribe over it. I think the number was under 100. And what we also saw is that all the existing members, especially those who pay by bonds, arranged their resubscription schedule so that they didn't pay for that weekend, and we lost 3 days of membership fees from a lot of people, and didn't really gain anything. And you know, if we gained so few new members from it, that suggests that the free-to-pay people weren't really trying out the members features and getting interested in them. So no, I don't think it certainly didn't work. I don't think we'll be doing it again, certainly not like that. If we ever do, what we agreed at the time was that it would need to be part of a much bigger project to revamp the new player experience, the new member player experience. If we'd done that kind of thing, then maybe it would have more likelihood of working out. Personally, I just don't see it, I'm afraid. Let's see.
Could I ask a favour?
Oh, please.
Would you be okay to if I just went and grabbed a drink and?
Go right ahead, I bring one.
Nice one. Thanks very much. I'll
What's
be
that,
5
what was
minutes.
on what was that bottle?
That's not.
It's
that's
not
not
a
the
drink.
kind of drink that I need.
Oh, right. I think we're going to have some outstandingly creative work done presently. Now, Lord Hunt 1X wants to know, how exactly does the farming ticks work after the rework you did? Because their herbs used to grow at 0 past the hour, 20 past the hour, 40 past the hour. Now it's more like 3 past the hour, 23 past the hour, etc. So, what was going on there is that farming ticks were aiming for, on the hour and every 5-minute interval thereafter. But by logging out and in at awkward intervals, you could disrupt your farming ticks and make them just not happen at all. And you'd end up with, something that should grow in, maybe it was meant to grow in a day, and it would be anything from 2 hours to 2 days. That's a ridiculous kind of variance to have, especially for brewing. God help us if anybody's doing brewing. Anyway, I made it more regular so that logging in and out doesn't much interfere with when the ticks happen. They happen as close as possible to when they're meant to happen. Thing is, I also was terrified, of overloading the servers with too much code. Because when farming first came out, the dev did overload the servers, and they just didn't work very well for a couple of days. So he and Andrew Gower, the founder, they had to work quite closely together, get some new stuff bolted into the engine to help him optimise it. In particular, we got the greater than and equals to comparator and the less than and equal to comparator. Previously we only had greater than and less than. We couldn't do greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. And a lot of the farming code therefore became more efficient once we had that. So that was a bit of a win for us. It's amazing what an engine team can do. And yeah, I was afraid of getting back that kind of problem by rewriting the logic, which is a bit more elaborate now that it's trying to count ticks more accurately than it was before. In order to avoid having the server doing all this stuff all at the same time for everybody, one of the things I did was just desynchronize it slightly, so that rather than having everybody try to run their main growth ticks on the hour, spread it out. Because it makes little difference to the gameplay. You clearly know when it's running for you. But it means that we're less likely to have unexpected, behaviour problems every hour on the hour, or every 5 minutes, as everybody runs their farming ticks at the same time. Okay, Mr. Obesis wants to know how the design team and developer team work together. Well, we don't really have a design team. We tend to use the customers for ideas, and boy do you send plenty of them. Every developer is expected to be able to function as a designer. We assess this during the recruitment process. I'm not going into detail about exactly how we assess it, but there are design challenges, short essays to write about some pieces of existing design, what's good about them, what's bad about them. We expect that anybody coming into old school will be able to talk with insight about the design of it and what they would bring to the table to help us improve that in future. And we don't have anybody whose full-time job is just to sit around designing stuff. But everybody in the team is expected to be able to participate in that and is given the opportunity to do so. That is in a sense how RuneScape was in the old school era. Although we had Mod Mark, and in fact he's still around, and he was overseeing all the designs, he wasn't necessarily sitting there churning out his own designs, putting them on people's desks and saying, program me one of those. So he'd tell me, hey Ash, I wouldn't mind a Wise Old Man quest. So I sat around for a couple of evenings and designed Swan Song. He said, nice, but can it, don't use haddock as the fish, because haddock doesn't sound very interesting. Happens, I like haddock, but he suggested, well, catfish are an interesting fish. I've seen a picture of a catfish, it looks very interesting indeed, but since the environment I'd been assigned for the fishing colony to go is in the north, and catfish sound kind of tropical, I didn't really quite want to go there, so we ended up with monkfish, because monkfish are delicious. I've not had them very often, kind of pricey too, but I had a monkfish curry and I liked it.
The Tesco near my place sold these monkfish tails for £4. It's huge, 2 of them.
Okay.
Reduced price.
Ooh.
I thought, right, I'm having those.
I had to shop into that Tesco. I got some really cheap steak as well last Christmas.
Yeah, they do that. Yeah.
Anywho, I think Swan Song went down reasonably well. People seem to enjoy the humour and the access to the fishing colony at the end, so I don't have any particular regrets on that. Although, funnily enough, what I wanted to write was something more like Shiloh Village. I don't feel I succeeded there, but I'm happy with what I did get. So no, we don't have a person like that, but any design work that's being done in the old school team, rather than going to one person who's the keeper of the vision for the whole product, the team will review it and discuss it and attend brainstorming meetings to refine it, etc. Mostly steering based on community considerations. Obviously we don't share all our lore ideas up front because we like being able to have surprises in quests, like in the Dragon Slayer one, where suddenly you discover that opening the vault is not the end of the story, and there was a whole thing in there that we hadn't told people about. We like to keep those things secret, but we also like to work off what we feel that players will be expecting and what will go well with players, even if it's not necessarily the story that might have been written otherwise. This seems to be serving us okay, given how the big quests like Monkey Madness 2 and Dragon Slayer 2 have gone, and also the smaller things where we unfold the lore of Zaya gradually through the 5 novice quests for the 5 houses, and of course Clients of Koren. Ah, I see Wise Old Man emote. I approve. Rayjam wants to know who does the lore and that they love Dragon Slayer 2 lore and read it all. Most of that was written by Ed. He had many conversations with many other members of the team about it as well. He also had long conversations with Paul Gower about it, because for all he doesn't work here anymore and doesn't need to because he's got another job, and also he sold RuneScape for quite a lot of money. He's available and he drinks in the same local pub what we do, so we've had chats about lore possibilities in there. We know what he had in mind for the Dragon King all those years ago, and by and large we're running in that kind of direction. Now, Teo MK wants to know whether the design program you're using is heavily vector based.
Yeah, I think it will be.
Cool.
Yeah, yes. He'll know what that means.
Yay. Design Ralph wants to know if there's any more news on sea slugs and what other mods think about another slug quest. Well, we haven't had a big team gathering to just see what everyone thinks about it across the whole team, partly because we've got rather a lot of projects on at the moment, including a quest, so we're not trying to design a sea slug sequel at the moment. But I think everyone's quite keen to pursue the storylines that we've got, and it helps that I do happen to know what the original developer of Slug Menace had in mind, because he told me before he departed this Vale of Tears, and it wasn't a bad idea. I mean, some of the concepts mentioned in the dialogue with, I think, Servant possibly at the time, but I do know roughly what he had in mind. For what it's worth, he started working on Slug 3 before departing, and what he got were 2 very odd graphical assets made by the artists at the time. One of them was a cutscene he had made of 2 Fremniks arm wrestling, so that was going to be part of it, to pursue the Mother Malum. And another thing he got was a cutscene of, the Temple Knights dungeon with an NPC, a human NPC, strapped to a board there with a burly Temple Knight just pounding on them quite vigorously as a sort of debriefing torture scene, as the camera tracked back through the doorway away from this to reveal the player and another Temple Knight standing outside, and the player looking a little unhappy at why every time they hand somebody over to the Temple Knights this gets done to them, and the Temple Knight guard explaining, it's for the greater good, Saradomin wills it, we weren't here to be popular or nice, we're here to save the world, and helpful thoughts of that nature. So he got those assets made. When he left the company, we looked at what he'd got and whether it was, something we could turn into a releasable quest imminently, and found, those 2 assets, you can't make a quest out of that, especially as it doesn't even mention the Mother Malum, so it would have not been ideal as a sequel to Slug 2. But I know where he was going with these ideas, and I do believe we could make a quest, even if we did not use gratuitous graphical torture scenes or Fremnik arm wrestling.
It's a good job the graphics are quite bad.
Well, they tried quite hard. I mean, people might have seen in Morning's End Part 1 with the gnome strapped to the rack for torturing. I think we toned down what the developer originally wrote, where you would actually have to participate in torturing the gnome.
Wow.
Well, you needed some info out of him. I think in the version we released, ultimately you merely threaten him, and
Okay.
he's actually not too disinclined to help anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, we tried to shy away from making the player actually participate in, well, war crimes.
Yeah.
At least on purpose.
That's a good call.
Yeah. I mean, we've had that quest where you try and do some mundane favour and you end up causing the death of half the monarchy. Specifically, the young ones that everyone liked. So, yeah, we're not shy of having the player get in some nasty situations, but the aim is usually to make it redeemable.
Sure. You know how some fairy tales have some quite dark themes in them? Like,
God, yeah.
The same can be said for old school RuneScape by the sounds of it.
Sometimes they're even arbitrary, like in one of the Grimm fairy tales, for no apparent reason, the evil witch queen is defeated, at which point they bring in some red hot shoes and make her put them on and dance until she drops dead of wearing molten shoes. And I have no idea why that's in the story. It's just brought in us, so that's what they did at the end.
That's like some horrible Hansel and Gretel reference.
It's from the same kind of background, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, the Troll Stronghold parrot is mentioned because, of course, you need a fake man for the stew, I think, and you do it by getting a scarecrow and putting it with a talking parrot that's talking like a human, and thus the trolls are willing to believe, yeah, we've handed over a human for them to eat. I don't think the parrot comes out very well from it.
No.
Tommy Zima would like us to do more quests relating to runecrafting lore. Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. I'd like that. Average Joe 1 would like more news about Group Iron Man mode. Well, that's not changed. As players have probably heard, to get that, we need some of the features that RS3's got in their engine. That's why they're able to poll these things now, and we are not. They've got 6 years of engine development that didn't exist in the old school game when it was brought out in 2013. Because, yeah, that's what 6 years gives you, more stuff. So, unfortunately, we don't have what they've got that makes it possible for them to do it. We hope to get it, because the demand is, you know, obvious. And we think it would be rather good business, too. Unfortunately, while we can't do everything at the same time, and what we need at the moment is for the engine team to finish off mobile, something else that people are constantly asking for. So, the answer is no, we're not making progress on Group Iron Man in the background behind all that activity. What you see is pretty much what you get. We've got mobile, we've got from the engine team, we've got Theatre of Blood from most of the content developers, and also, and of course we've got Jed working on mobile as well, so that's another content developer down. That's why it's been a bit quiet for content just lately. We're sorry about that, but we hope that these substantial things will be worth it rather than constantly churning out bitty things week after week after week after week. And this particular one that we're seeing being modelled does look quite mint.
Thanks.
In terms of priorities after mobile, as Black Dragon 39's asking, I'd have thought that's pretty darn high. But even if we can't get all the features programmed that players might like added to the system, in the meantime, the support team is doing what they can to try and block the problem at source that people have been having lately. And even if we can't get, you know, everything people would like programmed, there are other ways of trying to address it, and that's what the support team is going to be working on. FN Pro points out, but $11? Well, Old School's been running for 5 years. Back in 2013, there were 3 of us in the team, 0 artists, 0 dev tools, almost no engine support, 1 content developer, 1 QA, 1 community guy, and Since then, the team is just over 6 times bigger. Look, we've got artists who have tools they can use to make new assets for the game rather than having to make every single thing be a repainted copy of something else.
We also have tools which are not made by us, which is very expensive.
Yep. And for all we don't get all the engine support we'd like every time players have a great idea, or we can't deliver everything at once, but mobile is not writing itself. That's, well, infinitely more engine work than we were getting in 2013. So, in that time that the price has not gone up 6-fold, I do think that it's inevitable that over time prices will creep up, and you are getting a lot more than you were 5 years ago. I'm sorry that, you know, it's a bit of an imposition for you though, but even the price of, you know, groceries has changed over that kind of time. Inflation is a thing, and players do generally expect more than they were getting when, you know, we could release a minigame with no new graphical assets whatsoever because there's no alternative. Now this. As for why you're paying for RS3, well, membership is membership and it works on either version of the game. Obviously I love it when people play old school, but I don't begrudge people who want to play RS3 because, you know, there's 6 years of my code in that one as well. And at least one quest that I'm immensely proud of in the form of Love Story. So, you know, you were supporting the entire studio, and hopefully you're getting something in old school that you feel to be worth playing for. And if not, well, we'll try and get you more of what you do want. But we're never going to be able to deliver everything people want at any price, because, you know, we can find 1,000 player requests in a day just scanning the internet. There's never going to be a size of team that can deliver them all. Sorry. Troll Romance, says Timmy24. No, I didn't write that. That was a chap called Simon who, he came to work here for translation. One of the first of the German translators when RS3 was translated into German. He had a bit of downtime waiting for the engine side of things to be done for translation to go ahead. So in his spare time he learnt a bit of RuneScape and wrote a quest. And it's a rather funny one, I love that quest. Okay. E-Prototype says, what about the ability to play both games at the same time? We would like that. Unfortunately, since the login systems and chat system were not designed to expect there to be 2 versions of the game running at the same time, changing it so that you can do both at once is unfortunately rather a large job to some of the most fundamental stuff we've got, like logging in and chatting. I don't think it's likely we're going to get that anytime soon. I'm sorry. So Tuxedo J says, we need a chat channel rework. Please see everything I've said for the last 5 minutes. Tommy Zemo asks, do we put out content quicker than RS3 because it doesn't have to be translated into 3 languages? Pretty much, we can do anything involving text faster than RS3 because it doesn't need to be translated. That also means that there's, well, when we're making a menu, we write the text on it and we know how big the text will be. In RS3, when they make a menu, they have to bear in mind that some French and German especially are longer words or longer sentences. Well, text is simply bigger, and you end up with a lot more very long words, especially in German. So they have to make menus that can resize themselves dynamically around how big the text might turn out to be. And the possibility one day it might end up translating to another language that's even bigger. So making a menu is a much bigger job in RS3, quite apart from needing to schedule time for localization to go through everything. I gather it's not just about the translating of the words, because, well, let's face it, you can get Babelfish or agency staff to do a rough translation of the words, but translating the meaning is a substantially bigger job with cultural references that may not always be obvious. Or if I write a sentence like, traps, very dangerous, you go first. People might realise that I'm using a phrase very similar to something said in Raiders of the Lost Ark, if you remember that film these days, because it's such a long time ago. But, you know, somebody translating it into another language might not realise that it's a reference to old English language film, so they might find the joke's not there, or they might need to try and make something that is, or find out what was said in the translated version of the movie, so they can get the cultural reference right as well. And there's a few things that we've done that haven't always translated well at all, like in Varrock, there's a bank, at the West Bank, you knock on the door, it's got a knock option, and it makes you tell knock-knock jokes. And not every language has a tradition of those knock-knock jokes, so what they did in other languages, I genuinely do not know. Okay, Mass Dreams GT says, I'm wondering why there is no quests based on trees. It's something I'll never understand. Please play the Grand Tree quest. It's based on trees. Or a tree. It's a big tree. Okay. What else you got? Dorian Quirin 1996 wants to know if there's a way to talk to Jagex in other languages. I'm afraid I'm a bit limited for that myself. I don't know what language... I imagine you've picked up some Spanish along the way.
Very, very ropey Spanish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can read a bit of French, but I wouldn't want to try and have a detailed conversation about anything important in it. Yeah. I know enough to, I don't know, order a beer. Because the French word for beer is bière.
John can speak French, can't you?
I am French.
He is French.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a French passport to prove it.
Cool.
That'll come in handy. Well, you know, free travel between here and continental Europe ain't going to be quite so easy in another year.
I've put it from my mind. I don't want to think about it.
Well. Oh, that's not good, asks, could we see a poll for new lectin in our RPOH? Yes, we'd like to do that. We're not planning another qual poll right now, but it's something I would like. Oh, Ask DDYO suggests the word baguette. Yep, that's a word. Thank you. Lawrence LG wants to know my favourite thing about working for Jagex. It's gotta be the player interaction. Which might seem odd sometimes, but you know, when you do some work, if at the end of the day your manager will come by and pat you on the back and say, "Good boy, you did the work I asked you to do. Now do some more." That's, well, it's got its perks to it, and it might have, you know, real perks to it as well. But delivering something that goes in a game and is used by tens of thousands of players and hopefully makes them happy if we've got it right, that means more to me than anything my manager might say about it. So yeah, the chance to do cool stuff to RuneScape and engage with players about it. Valthian asks about death mechanics. Not the first question I've seen about it either. Yeah, there was one a bit earlier up the chat about in Deep Wilderness where your items turn into a pittance number of coins. There's a lot we'd like to change about death mechanics. We ran the survey in a recent blog a few weeks back now. Got a lot of answers about it too. What we were doing at the time was pitching a new potential design we could use to see what players thought about it. It's a bit like the gravestones used by Vorkath and bits of Dragonslayer 2, apart from Vorkath as well, and the Gargoyle bosses and Zulrah, except with a time limit so that you would be challenged to get back to roughly where you died, to collect your items from that area. And if you don't get there in time, then yeah, you've got the risk of losing them. And if you do get there in time, you'd still be expected to pay a fee, so that you've lost something by dying. If that goes through, and I don't actually know what the survey responses were like, by the way, because there were like tens of thousands of the things, and the guy who went off to read them ain't come back yet. That would give some actual risk to death for a change, rather than being pretty much guaranteed that you can collect everything for an hour. We need some handling for ultimate iron people, of course, because while we didn't go into much detail in the concept we laid out, we know that they depend very heavily on death mechanics being as they are, and we would aim to sort them out something so that they don't have their metas. Well, they might change, but we'd aim to at least make them viable. So that's what we've been thinking about for death. May not happen. Might be people would rather keep the status quo. The thing we wouldn't offer is to bring back exactly what we had before, where people's items were visible on the ground to loot, and after 2 minutes they all vanished anyway. That's, well, pretty darn harsh. And the looting thing was a problem for us because, you know, people try and cause disconnections and attack the world for a bit, see everyone drop dead around you, immediate profit. We're not offering that. It's just too much of an incentive to attack the game worlds. And even though we've got a rather better protection system than we had in 2013 through 15, no point in just asking for trouble, especially as you don't tend to win an arms race, realistically. So we wouldn't go exactly where we were before, but we would like there to be more risk. And of course, if we were making that kind of change, we could also revisit what happens in Deep Wilderness, where things are turning into, you know, a tiny pile of coins, which ain't really worth it. Jalzek says just give you gravestones. You know, these things would work a lot like a gravestone. The Orson remembers getting rune legs from a dude that disconnected at the waterfall fire giants back in the day. Yeah, I myself got quite a lot of rune from somebody who died. It wasn't a disconnection, they just went to fight Desus and didn't know how to handle Desus, and didn't realise that Desus would follow them through the swamp and keep killing them as they ran away. So my first trip to try and kill Desus, I didn't get to Desus because I suddenly found I'd found full rune and went off to the bank with it. Well, I also added him to see if he turned up on chat and I could, you know, offer him his stuff back. Couldn't find him. Oh well. Tristan AUS says they used to lure noobs to Lumbridge Cave and take their items when they died. What a nice person. Dan Dayon Wright asks, what is the chance of getting your question answered? Well, that's happened. Maybe ask something about the game and that'll be even better. Let's see. Massdreams GT wants to know who made the music for Old School. Most of the music in the game, about 500 tracks worth, was written by Mod Ian and Mod Bond and various other audio staff over the years 2004 through 2007. In the 5 years Old School's been running, we've got more tracks. There have been some from Mod Ian. I think he did the ones for the Monkey Quest. And also some of the music for raids. He did the Olm track, Fire in the Deep, which is great, and the Upper Depths track. I think that was one of his. And Mod Bond, who's sadly no longer with Jagex, but he's still active on Twitter, and you can send me compliments if you can find him. He wrote, I think, the Wintertodt track, Fire and Ice and Fire, which is one of my favourites. I've got a few tracks in there as well, about 20 or so in total these days. Because, of course, when Old School started, we didn't have much access to the audio team. And Old School's got bigger, and more players. And the audio team is, I think it's got bigger as well, in fact. So now we're able to get stuff from them. And they're writing a lot of music for the Theatre of Blood. We're hoping that one of the audio staff will be able to join us on next week's live stream, in fact, so you can see them for yourself and, well, look at the mind behind the music and maybe hear some of the music. We were hoping to get it for this week, but it's a bit too short notice to get somebody available for hours live streams, so next week more likely.
I'd really like that.
Over at Andre, questions about seeing tracks. Well, I recall it going down rather well when Mod Ian wrote the Scape 5 track for our 5th birthday, and we just showed the a video recording of the tool and the what it's got inside the editor as the track was played in real time, which went down rather well, as I recall. We'd like to do the same again, but maybe not spend that much time making a video just for, you know, some background music that's going to be used in the Theatre of Blood on this occasion. Okay, Andrew Oliver wants to know why some of the American worlds are so dead. As I recall, we took a lot of the American worlds offline for maintenance today, which would certainly inhibit people trying to use them if that's still going on. I haven't been checking on the progress, but it will say on the website, the support section of the website, if there's anything going on there. Libro97 wants a Korend diary. Yeah, we expect to do, well, not just the corner of the continent that is Korend, we expect to do one for the entire continent out there. But not while the continent is so incomplete. Because if we do one for the chunk of land that is there now, and then finish off the terrain with the rest of the content that's due there, like the Kingdom of Valamor, in which we've got some designs for, get you thinking about that, then of course that area would not be included in the diary, so it would be a bit silly. So we do intend to do it, but not just yet. Josh Rika wants to know the first piece of content I worked on. Well, long time ago. The Wise Old Man, I think. Certainly he'd be one of the first things I did. I was told we'd like more NPCs in the newbie area for people to talk to and learn about the game. Make a Wise Old Man. Specifically, the comments in the job said, as described by Jung, using one of the archetypes. Wise seer who knows things, prefers to stick to the standard explanation that there are 3 gods. Saradomin is the good one, Guthix is the neutral one, Zamorak's the bad one. You should worship Saradomin, and get uncomfortable if you start talking about Zaros or Armadil or any of the other ones. Although he knows all about them, he just doesn't want to talk about them. That was the instruction, and they said, oh, maybe you can make him give out little tasks that give the player some runes or coins as a reward or something. That's why I did this, but we got some graphics for it, and with Wise Man, they put a telescope in his house, and it happens to be pointing at the window. And Paul Gower, going through the content to check it, to see whether my design was okay, said, why has he got a telescope pointing at the bank? Looks like he's trying to rob it or something. So based on that completely random comment, we came up with the idea of saying, okay, he is planning to rob the bank. Let's make him a right dodgy git, and maybe have an update in future where he does rob the bank. And from that point, the Wise Old Man stopped being any kind of archetype and just became a sort of anti-hero who, well, later did indeed rob the bank, and is a bit, well, sassy in whatever dialogue he got in later quests. The thing I've mostly aimed to preserve is that he's well up himself, and he is very wise, and no one knows it better than he does. But I thoroughly enjoyed writing Love Story, where you've got to solve his problem in the form of his psycho ex-girlfriend that he can't solve for himself. Anywho. Vigilant RS says, if we know he did it, why has there been no punishment for his crimes? Well, in Love Story, which Old School hasn't got, it does come back to bite him slightly, that the bank has been keeping track on him and alerting the Wizard's Tower of his apparent plans to go there and rob it. And, well, that doesn't go too well for him. But the wise old man usually comes out on top one way or another, like in last year's Christmas event, which was themed around the wise old man filling in for Santa. And he gets a bit dodgy in that as well. At the end of which, no, it doesn't work out quite how he planned it, but his explanation is that Santa filled his house with coal, because that's what Santa does when you're bad, and he sold it on the GE and got even more money, so he's happy. But technically, it was meant to be a comeuppance. Recognition wants to know, why don't we add Love Story to Old School? The thing about Love Story is that, like any piece of content, it's got a lot of graphics in it, and you know, all the things that we haven't got in Old School, like, you know, the animated dummy you use and the special spells and the environment. There's a lot of graphics went into Love Story, even if it was a relatively cheap quest. And the code isn't exactly a copy and paste job either, because our code base does not exactly match RS3's in a plug and play way. So we'd be at it for a very long time, at the end of which you get a quest that people have already played, and you do it once, and that's the end of it. In RS3 at least you get the ability to redirect your teleport tablets, but Old School's got that already, so it wouldn't be a very big gain for all that dev work. Sorry.
Hello.
Hey,
I've been sent down.
Hello, welcome. Anyway, so we're broadcasting at the moment, and yeah. What's your mod name again, please?
Kira.
Mod Kira has come to join us. I guess we'll be seeing Mod Kira on the live stream in about 10 minutes. So Inverted Looks wants to know, will Old School see voice implementation in quests or music? Sort of. We're using MIDI here, but we are able to define new instruments. So Mod Ian spent a while working with a professional singer, getting more voice samples from her voice so that we can use it as a new instrument, and it will sound, well, really quite unique, I think, if it goes to plan, which means that some of the vocal noises in the music for Theatre of Blood will be unique and very atmospheric. But we can't use, you know, a long recorded piece of music, sadly. That's not something Old School supports at this time. Dayum Wright says, unique? MIDI? Yes.
do you have any technical understanding of how you managed to translate an actual human voice into MIDI?
Well, our MIDI uses samples of different instruments playing different notes. Some processing to get notes that weren't recorded. Some is just playing the samples in the right order. I mean, you can imagine that if we recorded somebody playing all the notes on a piano individually and then played them back in the order of a piece of music, it would sound a bit like the piano playing the music.
Sure.
Wouldn't be as smooth as, I don't know, a real pianist who can play fluid notes. But you know, you can get you can at least get something that sounds like the music out of it. Especially if the music's, you know, if it were Baroque or something, then you'd probably be not far off. Whereas if you wanted something more emotional, like, or very fluid piece of Chopin, maybe not so good.
Yeah.
But if you can do that with a piano, you can imagine doing it with a human voice and get them to sing a lot of notes and then play the ones you want in the order you want.
Makes perfect sense now you said that.
Yeah, like Eric Morecambe said a long time ago, I am playing all the right notes. I may not be playing them all in the right order.
Boy, the amount of times my dad used to quote that when I was a kid.
Funny thing is that in that sketch, Morecambe is in fact playing. It's not even playing the notes in the wrong order. He's just playing the right tune in totally the wrong style and a different key.
Right, so he is actually playing something that resembles the original.
Yeah, only it's I think it's like he's playing it in a major key rather than the minor, with a kind of cha bass line.
Okay.
Which is not quite what Grieg had in mind for the great Grieg piano concerto by Grieg. Sorry, this is a rather obscure cultural reference for the 21st century, maybe, but if you have a look at Morecambe and Wise Grieg, it's a great sketch on YouTube. Okay, YY Pro says, Boss kill count high scores, it's 2018 and web design is cheap. Web design may be cheap. Getting the web team's programmers to have the time to implement it, on the other hand, that's not so cheap. Sorry. So, Caracol wants to know what happened with the World 47 massacre. We've got a statement out about this one on already from the support team, but you know, there's been some world maintenance going on today. All the worlds on the east side of America being taken offline for most of the day. To prepare for that, all the unique themes that weren't offered elsewhere, we wanted to move them to other worlds. So one of the teams set out to move World 45 Deadman to World 47. Now, the procedure we usually use for this is to shut down the affected worlds, update the settings of them, and then bring them online again. Unfortunately, the operator who was enacting this didn't realise why it was necessary to do it that way, and tried sending out the updated world settings along with a reboot that was meant to arrive at about the same time. So the world would reboot just as it got the new settings and boot up with new settings. And unfortunately, the new settings arrived 2 minutes before the reboot happened. This meant that the world got some attributes of a Deadman world 2 minutes early. And one of the attributes of a Deadman world is death. Everywhere, lots of death. Now, we only identified from the data trawling 3 players who'd legitimately suffered this. We saw a lot of other screenshots, by the way, but the people who said, here's me dying unfairly due to the World 47 incident, but their screenshot doesn't show a countdown timer, means it wasn't taken during that incident. So that's not necessarily legit. And the ones that didn't even have the special attack orb, that was definitely not taken recently. But the support team did find 3 people who were legitimately affected. And they've been looking at exactly what the accounts lost. Because while we have never been able to track down everything people lose unfairly so as to return items, they can see the XP. And they can give a lot of membership as a genuine apology, and try to get the maybe even get something sorted out of the XP if possible. You can imagine it's rather easier to track XP loss than it is item loss, because, well, it's not like you're going to slip the XP to your mate and get it back again once Jagex has reimbursed you when you claimed there'd been a bug. And we can really see the numbers a lot more effectively. Turned out, of course, that well, the support team was at least able to do this and has been in touch with the main player who was affected. Hopefully that's going to sort them out all right, and we've redocumented the process for moving world flags so that operators are not going to run into this again. We are, of course, extremely sorry that it happened, and we've done what we can to make it right for the affected players. Akara wants to know what we think about a superior Hellhound monster. Something with 2 heads to fit in well with the base Hellhound and Cerberus. Well, I guess that does fit between 1 head and 3 heads.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And if you take it any further, a good number above 3 would be pi.
I'm not sure if I get the reference.
Pi is a number that's slightly bigger than 3.
Okay, right, cool.
75JMO93 bets that I am sipping on a wine cooler right now. I wish, but no, I merely have tea. Anywho, Third Eye Chakra wants to know whose fault was it, Ash? Name and shame. The answer is, I'm not offering that info, I'm sorry, but you'll have to send your outrage to the team as a whole, rather than asking me to publicly shame a member of staff who was trying to do a very complicated process in rather difficult circumstances under time pressure, and made an honest error. So, no. Josh Rika wants to know, what is my mathematical knowledge extent? Well, I've got 2 A-levels in it, and since I did a degree in materials science, you end up covering a bit of maths at uni as well. But if you want maths, you want Kieran. He's got an actual degree, first class, in mathematics, and is probably the best mathematician available to us. Game of Owns asks, BTEC. I don't have one of those, sorry. Okay, Ash, unrelated to RuneScape, asks P. Johnston, what is my favourite Beatles song? Eleanor Rigby. Yep. A Third Eye Chakra, honest error just like the Gmaul bug, hahaha. You know, I made the Gmaul bug, and I'm sorry about that. It took us a very long time to find it, because frankly, it wasn't obvious to us that the Gmaul would act that way, with deferrable queues being processed the way they were by the engine at that particular time. Which was not quite consistent with how RuneScape had behaved in 2007, and wasn't consistent with RS3's handling of it either. The engine team has very obligingly changed how stackable queues work in that kind of way, and we've learned not to use queues in that way to let them stack up like that, so hopefully there'll be no more troubles like that. Anywho, Far Too Noble wants to know RuneScape Mobile when. We don't have a date for that, but the betas have gone well. Existing players are generally able to operate the game just fine, although there's a lot of usability issues they're working around, and awkward things like, you know, the iPhone 10 with the bit sticking into the screen at odd places. We're not finished with the handling for that yet, and we've got some trouble with head-up displays as well. But broadly speaking, a lot of it is looking like it's almost, well, usable by an expert player who knows how to work around awkward things, which covers a lot of you, so that's great. We wouldn't be able to call it a full launch, not as it currently stands, but we are hoping that we'll be able to get to a point in the not too distant future where there can be a public beta, maybe not everyone at first, but bigger than the last betas we've run, to getting to the point where we'll be able to let all the general public use it, all of you, and carry on polishing it to the point where we can call it a full launch. Anyway, keep an eye on the website, our website, not whatever links pop up on Facebook, please, to see any announcements about that. Anyway, I think it would be time to head over to the couch for the Q&A. I think I've said quite a lot, and now I'll go over to the couch, sit there, and maybe say some more stuff. Anyway, I'm heading over now. Perhaps Mod Ghost would like to finish off talking about Sotic's egg for a bit.
That's cool. Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, so I've pretty much done most of the walk animation for this. I'll do a few tweaks throughout the dev Q&A, but without any further ado, we say ado, I think, yeah. I will hand you over to the dev Q&A now.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Old School Q&A. Now, some of the more astute among you may have noticed something here. I'm not Mod Archie. Don't worry, he is away this week, so I am temporarily stepping in to host the Q&A, but he will be back with us very soon. And for anyone who doesn't know, I am Mod Ed, and today I am joined by Mod Ash.
Hello.
Mod Kieran.
Yo.
Mod Aiza.
Hello.
Mod Sween.
Hello.
And a very special guest, Mod Kira.
Hi.
So, we'll probably start off with working out who this guy is, I guess. So, Mod Kira, you're not part of the old school team, are you?
I'm not, no. I'm
so-
part of Jagex's IT team. I work in the desktop support department, and I've been working here for just over a year now.
And yet, here you are with us on
Here
an
I
old
am,
school
mate.
Q&A. And you're with us on an old school Q&A because you've been deving a little something for us.
I've certainly
So
been trying.
just a little boss that
Yeah.
we've put a pal out for today, haven't we?
That is right, yep.
Yeah, so I'm not going to try and pronounce the name of it because I'm going to get it wrong. So do you want to tell me what the name of the boss is first of all?
Yeah, so the boss's name is Briar Fighter. It is, for anyone out there who doesn't know, it is the name given to the family of mosses. So I thought it was appropriate for a moss giant titan. Yeah, she is the biggest, baddest moss giant of them all, supposedly. So.
And you've been developing this in your tap time. So
Yep.
for anyone who doesn't know what that is, every couple of weeks we get a day to dedicate to our own personal projects. We call it tap because it is short for Thursday all-day personal projects. We actually do ours on a Friday. You can probably work out why we kept the name the same. And we've had quite a few interesting things about tap in the past. Like recently we've had the latest Zaya quest. We had Mod West and his leather shields. But I think this is the first time we've ever had a tap project from someone not actually on the old school team, which is really awesome. So big shout out to you for that.
Cheers.
So to let the guys get to know you a bit better, I've got a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
How long have you played old school?
I think I've played old school for 13 years. So I started when I was 13. I'm 26 now. So yeah, 13 years.
It's half your life.
It's half my life,
It's
mate.
not bad, it's not bad.
It's worrying, isn't it?
Any regrets?
All of them.
Good answer. And in your 13 years of playing old school, what would you say your favourite thing about the game is?
I don't know. I'm just excited to see what you guys have got coming up for Raids 2. To be honest, I've seen some sneak preview stuff. It's
No pressure.
Looking pretty good.
So, obviously, as mentioned, you're developing this boss in tap. What was it that made you really want to develop this? Like, to basically use your own personal time to come help us out?
Sure. So, I mean, originally I just wanted to get a look kind of behind the scenes at what you guys did, have a quick play around in RuneScape myself, you know, see what it was about. After a couple of weeks of spending some time with Maz and some of the rest of the team, they asked me if there was anything I'd like to do, and I said, you know, I've always been interested in content for RuneScape, and they said I should come up with an idea, and I thought, well, there's a, you know, it was pitched originally for Slayer. There was a gap in the Slayer table at that age, but at that level, sorry, but you know, it makes perfect sense for it to be a free-to-play boss as well. So, but yeah, no, it was basically just it was a bit of a whim really at first, but here we are a year later and nearly releasing it. So.
And you say you worked with RuneScript, so
Yeah.
how was that? What was it like working with our in-house language?
It was challenging. It was challenging is the word I'd use.
It's not the easiest.
It's not the easiest, no.
You say that's the biggest challenge you faced, developing this?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Is getting to grips with the language. I had some basic programming experience beforehand, not to the extent that a developer would have, but even just applying the knowledge I did have to RuneScript was difficult. Quite a lot of the syntax is different and the structure is different, so.
Yeah. So, anything else to add about the boss? Anything you want to let the guys know?
Well, I don't know. Hopefully you'll get to the poll booth and vote for it. Be a lot of fun to watch some of you guys playing it through on your free-to-play accounts. I hope you just really enjoy the content, really. That's all there is to really.
Awesome. Well, thank you for
Thanks.
joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And if anyone wants to follow Mod Kira on Twitter, head over to @JXKira. In fact, we'll get Mod Rai to plunk you a link in the chat because he needs to do some work. Make sure you give him a follow. And as mentioned, the poll is now out. So if you haven't already looked, head onto the website, have a look at the blog, then head in game and cast your vote. So, shall we move on?
Sure. Are you looking at me?
So I do have a little question for you, Mod Eyes. We had a little issue yesterday.
We did.
But would you like to talk about it?
I will. This is terrible though because Ash had literally spoke about it a few minutes before, and his description of the problem was so much better than what I was going to say. So that worked out well, even though I was the one that wrote the statement about it. So go figure. But yeah, basically, we had an issue with World 47. We had maintenance running today on some servers. So in preparation for the maintenance, we switched some of the world restricted activities from a world to another world so that they were still available during today. One of those was switching World 45 Permanent Deadman to another world. I believe that process is handled by a series of flags that determine it's a world for Deadman. And the bottom line is that unfortunately the flag for Deadman was set 2 minutes before the world actually went offline, so that anyone that was logged into the server at the time for that 2 minute period was getting 5 times XP and could also be attacked by other players, and if they did and died, they would have lost their bank and XP like you would in Deadman. We've had a look into it, investigated how many people were impacted. There were 3 accounts confirmed so far, 2 of which actually died in the wilderness and are under investigation with the anti-cheating team because it looks like they were green dragon bots. So we're not going to do anything about those 2 guys because they're likely to get banned if they're not already.
This is karma, right?
Yeah, right. But the legitimate player did perish, unfortunately, and did lose some items and some experience. So we've reached out to that player. We are going to be crediting them with 12 months of membership. We are going to try and restore as much as we can in terms of XP. And I believe also there's a little bit of extra that we've done for this player.
This has already been done.
Yeah, okay.
So Mod Steve W, manager and player support team, he's reached out. We're kind of agreed in action with support and with the old school products, like i.e. Matt K. Basically, we've looked at the value of the wealth the player lost and have credited the player with the equivalent in old school bonds, which you can redeem for membership or sell for gold.
Yeah, and I think kind of like going forward, we're obviously reviewing the whole process. No information to share at the moment, but we obviously always want to do the best that we can for the player in every situation. So that's something that we're going to be looking at, hopefully improving on. So
yeah, we want to do the right thing for the player all the time,
yeah,
but it has to be sustainable. Exactly. So we need to come to an internal agreement of what we can do going forwards. But it's fresh and in our minds. It's a pressing matter, and we are on it. Like everyone's fighting for the players, basically.
Yeah, but pretty much that's it. So I think the only other thing that I wanted to cover was that we saw a lot of screenshots that came up on Reddit and on Twitter. They weren't from this incident. They were from World 45 Permanent Deadman from February. The 14th of February, in fact, was when that exact incident happened, where a person lost their T-bow and Dragon Warhammer. We haven't found any other reports or confirmed incidents of other people dying. So as I say, 3 people, 1 legit player, 2 green dragon bots that died in the wilderness that are likely banned now. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Shall we jump into some questions?
Yeah, that's good.
No.
Yeah, you can
No.
get some more space now.
Yeah, can you dab?
They missed it at the start. Ed was
Yeah.
sitting here in this chair dabbing away.
So what they don't actually realise is that during the working day around the office, just dabbing 24/7, that's all it is. But for the stream, I just have to keep on the low down.
Yeah.
He coded Dragon Slayer 2 while dabbing.
So apart from the dabbing question, let's ask a few others. So got another community one here actually. I've got a question from Slaz who wants to know if we can change the news section of a website to be more like a game development blog with projects and their status and information on them.
Okay. So
The actual news section would be no, because that does require time from the web team. At the moment on the Jagex Careers site, there is a vacancy for an editorial manager who would be writing all sorts of copy for Old School and RuneScape and indeed Jagex as a company. That would free up an awful lot of time from us and CM and also devs who like to write news posts occasionally as well, which means more time can be spent producing the kind of written content you'd like to see.
yeah, so I guess in terms of the way that it's styled on the website at the moment, we can't make changes there, but with more time to invest into content and copy, we could shift up the way that posts come out and the way that they're formatted, and we could always split what is normally a huge dev blog into 2 or 3 snippets with one major one. There's so many different things that we could do. So yes, we're always open to looking at changing it. We'll do whatever's best for the players and whatever information is best kind of like digested. So
Yeah, I guess a lot of it depends on how the players want to have the information.
Exactly.
Like, do people prefer a long blog or lots of little ones? Which I guess is a good question that we've really looked into that before.
Really interesting.
Certainly having somebody available to do the writing of such things or help with the writing of such things would be a good start, because at the moment if we found players like this kind of thing, we're still a little bit stretched for giving it to them.
I'm really hopeful of this vacancy, in that it means the players will get the written content they want, and we're able to engage more with the players. So we're not writing as much. We can actually do proper community management stuff.
Do a bit more community engagement rather than just kind of like feedback gathering, which is a lot of what we do at the moment, which isn't bad because, you know, we're obviously making sure that what we're doing is in your best interests. But yeah, it would be nice to be able to kind of take a step back from copy and be able to say, do you know what, actually we have a plan this week for community engagement and we're going to do more stuff with you guys. So
I guess on that note, I've actually got a question that's kind of related a bit further down from Hess, who wants to know what happened with the podcasts that Mod Sween spoke about one time. And I guess that's sort of related to this.
Yeah, basically I didn't have time to do it. So we have objectives called OKRs. And basically was determining the kind of the feasibility of it. Is it worth doing? And there was some value. Mainly looked at the comparison from when RuneScape used to produce podcasts. The uptake wasn't great. I kind of felt we could produce enough varied content to make it different and more popular, but the time available wasn't good enough, basically. But again, less time doing copy, more time doing...
More time available,
yeah.
These things can potentially be brought up again.
I'm just going to... Oh, go on.
You want to crack on?
Oh, I was just going to shoehorn in another thing I've just seen from the chat, but I might as well address it now whilst we're on this topic, is that a few people have been asking about the updated, well, not even the updated, the actual Revenant Caves Rewards Rework blog that... back in March, I think, towards the tail end of March, third week I think it was, we put out a thread asking for suggestions. Basically, the blog is ready. It can be released at any time. Unfortunately, I know myself that I don't have enough time, and we as a community team don't have enough time at the moment to dedicate ourselves fully to going through your feedback and making sure that we listen and that we make changes that we need to. I don't want to have a blog that's out there that you guys are sitting on for the next 2 months or 3 months or 3 weeks, however long it might be, wondering when it's going to come. And then us just to have to revisit again in 3 weeks and take new feedback because it's outdated now. So until I'm in a position where I know that I can, you know, fully dedicate myself to going through the feedback with you, I just don't want to release it. I know that some of you will want to see it. It's just unfortunate that's the way that it is. I don't know when that will be. It could be next week, it could be this week. I'm just waiting for a slot in, you know, my schedule to slot that in. Obviously, you know, we've got so many great things being developed at the moment. We've got Fear of Blood that's going to be coming out very soon. We've got quests that are going to come out very soon. We've got the Moss Giant boss that's coming out soon. We've also got challenge mode raids. So there's a lot of development that's going into it. And then as soon as we know we've got a schedule and we've got the time that we can fit it into, I'll get it done then. But the premise is it's ready. I think I might announce the competition winner, actually, because I don't want to leave them hanging. I know who's won the competition for the hat, so I'll get in touch with them by the end of this week.
Me?
It wasn't you. Oh. Your suggestion was one of the most popular, though.
I had a few upvotes.
Yeah, I'm not going to give you the hat, though, just out of principle.
Okay, so there's a few people in the chat spamming mobile. It's not one of my questions on here, but do we have anything to say about mobile? We put out a blog pretty recently, didn't we?
So the iOS beta was extended last week and will finish tomorrow. Definitely finishing tomorrow. There's going to be no surprise. Another week extension, I'm afraid. Last week's news post, we kind of addressed what we expect to happen going forwards, which would be, so rather than the cross-platform we initially envisioned, it's just actually going to be more of like a softer launch for Android, like a bigger limited beta, then hopefully going into a bigger open beta with iOS kind of following, not coming at the same time. I expect that is still going to be the case, and we'll talk about it more in the news post tomorrow. But no dates. I'm very sorry.
How exciting is open beta, though?
Sorry?
How exciting is open beta?
Yes,
It's
totally.
a reality.
I think they're getting pretty sick and tired of us like posting screenshots on Twitter of all the things we're doing on mobile.
Yeah, although it's not release, open beta, that's where so many people are going to start to be able to get their hands on it, and that's pretty damn exciting.
Soon.
Soon, TM.
Genuinely soon.
Got a question from Mindy, who wants to know if we can get a world for people who have 22,000 total, 2,200 total.
I still want to do a max total world. I'd love to do a max total world, just for the fact that when we release a new skill, whoever gets 99 first gets a world to themselves.
Oh. Don't need max skill then. He's got a whole world to yourself.
Well, there you go. Exactly.
You have the whole world in his hands.
It's pretty awesome, but like you kind of don't need that once you've maxed.
No, it's true. But Yeah, I mean, I'd be open to adding a new high-level world just because there's a lot more people at that end now than there were back when we added the last ones. Whether we want to do a max one, it's up to you guys, really.
I guess the thing is, I know that there's a lot more people that are maxed now than there were, say, a year ago or even 2 years ago, but are there enough people that are maxed that would mean that a world would be decently populated? I guess that's maybe what they want, a world that isn't populated. I think I'm definitely all in favour of a higher total level world than what we currently have. I'm not sure if we're ready for max just yet. I don't know.
What about max except rune crafting?
I guess that's kind of what this one asked for by saying 2,200.
Yeah.
Like, I find that when we've pulled this stuff in the past, a lot of it, the focus is on whether or not it's going to be replacing an existing world or not.
Well, in the past, we could only replace an existing world. However, with them giving us a bit more capacity for worlds in the build-up to mobile, we get the option of actually not having to poll it because, you know, it's a new world, so we're not taking anything away from anybody at all.
So it's possible.
Yep.
It's just, yeah, whether there's enough demand for it, I guess.
Oh, I think that we can find demand for it.
Yeah.
Especially if we restrict the poll to only people who'd be eligible to use it.
Sure.
Ooh,
That'd be interesting.
Well, it'd be a bit pointless, perhaps.
I think everyone would it'd be a yes all around.
Yeah.
Okay, so iStarbucks wants to know if a Pura store can have a revamp by adding buy 10, etc. Because right now, it only allows you to buy one item and then the interface closes.
I've seen that code lately. It is not nice. I would like to do that. It's not going to be a quick thing like add an extra right-click option, though. It's one of the old style interfaces, which I think we have to recreate from scratch. And
it needs recreating.
Well, it does need
in
doing.
the first place, let alone the fact it's the old format.
Interface formats changed in 06, which means that some 100 existing interfaces were in the old format, and anything made since then was usually in the newer format, except for one interface made for Last Man Standing, for which he used the old format, don't ask why. And to edit the old style ones, we have to start by recreating them from scratch in the new style, because we can't edit the old one. That just adds quite a lot of dev hours and a lot of extra testing to any work before we even get to tweak the thing that players wanted in the first place. The actual job is usually quite mundane, like add a right-click option that does 5, 10x, whatever. That's easy. But first we've got to remake the interface. It's nice to have, and I'm glad people were interested enough in it, because that gives us a better reason to spend the dev time on it than just code maintenance. So I'd like to do this one.
Okay, we have a question from Monkey. Can seaweed spores be added to the Master Farmer pickpocket table?
Yeah. Any way you please.
Well, yeah,
really.
so I guess the question shouldn't be can, because yes,
Should they?
it should be why.
I am capable as a developer of writing that line in the code.
He's got a first in maths, you know.
You
I'm all right.
you are a true senior content developer.
Thanks.
So there you go. Kieran can do it. It could be done. Question is, should we do it?
I don't know. I don't know what reason why.
I don't see any issue with giving more seaweed spores out. I mean, it's a fairly low level resource. As long as people are happy with that. So it's one of these things where it's like, if the community want it.
If the thing were able to give out seaweed at a rate where people didn't feel they needed to use shops as their meta for getting hold of the soda ash, I would really prefer that. Is there anything... I mean, getting hold of the spores is not a limiting factor. Possibly the positioning of the farming patch and the access to a bank from there is more of a drawback. Can we think of anything we can do to make skilling be the item source?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the main aim, right? Don't let it be the shop anymore.
Without
it seems like a bit of
nerfing the shop.
Seems a bit of a met reaction as a whole to just doing it via the Master Farmer, but if we can come up with a different creative idea, maybe.
Okay. Arjun wants to know if the wizard in Ardoin, if that is how you pronounce it, I still don't really know myself, to be honest, and Bert and Yanil can have a claim option for their daily tasks.
Guess so, yeah. Is this for the daily tasks?
It's like the daily tasks is probably not a good way of putting it. Like the daily items you collect from them.
Oh yeah, that should be fine.
Well, it'd be easy enough to just stick it on a box in their house or something.
Yeah.
Left click, direct to the box. A bit like we did with Saf and the staff, so that you could get to it without having to do anything fancy.
Also, it's pronounced Ardy.
Okay. Ardy.
Ardoon.
Imbued Bucket wants to know that apparently in RuneScape Mythbusters Special, it was confirmed that having a higher farming level is likely to result in more yield. Does this mean that boosting with garden pies will result in more yield?
Sorry, I lost you somewhere in that one. Can you say it again a bit slower?
Okay. It was confirmed that having a higher farming level will result in more yield from patches. Does this mean that boosting your farming level with a garden pie will increase your yield?
As long as you're not on 99 already, yes. Boosts above 99 do not help.
Okay. Wild wants to know if we can make it so that when alching, the runes are used first rather than the explorer ring.
Easy.
I guess with that
As long
one,
as
it's
everyone wants it the same
yeah.
way.
Togglescape.
Why?
They didn't say why.
They'd rather use the free
They didn't give me a long essay on why this had to happen. I've just got the question. I'm sorry. Wild, if you are watching, Kieran would like to know why.
If they've taken the time and trouble to bring the Alk runes along, arguably it's a sign that they want to use them.
Yeah, I guess, but it's an interesting one. No XP from the Explorer ring.
Well, if you're doing any serious alking, maybe take off your ring, but...
I think it works in the inventory.
Oh, did we make it do that? Gosh, that was surprising. Well, it's not how magic boosting things normally work. It's entirely possible I did it, I just don't remember.
Probably.
Okay. 2011 would like to know if someone with 99 Slayer under 100 combat could be allowed to get a task from Duradel.
I think it makes sense considering he sells you the Slayer cape. So he's willing to sell you a cape but not give you a task. It's a bit.
So it'd be kind of similar to how
I recognise you
Warriors
as like the hero, like a master of Slayer, but I'm not giving you a task.
He must not like Pures very much.
Yeah, maybe. I'm on board with it, but
It's whatever.
yeah.
I have no personal opinion on it.
Fair enough. It's whatever is the answer.
Doable. This is what you need to know.
Cleaver would like to know if we can have the dig site pendant teleports added to the jewellery box.
The jewellery box is powerful enough, is what I want to say. Like, get some dig site pendants, isn't it? It ain't too bad. I mean, they're untradeable, right? That's the why.
I mean,
I
you
guess
say it
it's
ain't
a
too
bit
bad,
more
but
of
they are one of the more annoying ones to get hold of,
It's a bit more-
especially that first time round.
The first
The
time.
first time, yes, I completely agree. And even then, it's a bit of a ball ache because you got to do it yourself, right? You've got to actually do the enchanting because you can't just buy them on the GE. But you know, just stick them in your bank. You get you do 2 inventories and you got 56 of them.
So
And then you've got them for like the next 5 years. Because how often do you teleport?
I think people do it for when they're...
I know. I do it for the mahogany trees as well. But you use 1 dose.
Yeah, I think now they've got the
1.5
teleports
doses a week. It's not that
with
bad.
dragons and Fossine as
No,
well.
that's true.
That's what it's for, I think.
Yeah, I suppose those dragons actually probably take up quite a lot.
I ain't too much effort though. You know.
I mean, for the reward that you get of... I mean, I know Rune Dragons, they're not like the best XP per hour in the game, but they're pretty decent to like AFK for decent money. They got some good drops. Maybe making that more convenient wouldn't be a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't care to just make it so you have to make
birdhouses,
just go and make 1 and then you've got them infinitely.
Oh, there you go. Birdhouse runs, yeah.
It's true.
I mean, it's possible. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just that I don't know whether everyone else is on board. There was a lot of no's in the chat.
Deal with it.
I guess the thing about something like that is, where do we stop? Like this week we're asking for dig site pendant, but we've had this request for other jewellery as well. There is a lot of teleporting jewellery out there, and I'm pretty sure we'll be adding more. So how big does the jewellery box get?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. The POH is also already serves as pretty much a one-stop shop for heal up to everything, teleport to wherever you want to go. Have some more teleports. And also, I'd rather go down the Eternal route anyway and add an Eternal Ruby Gem or something for it, like whatever it is.
Well, that actually leads me on to another question I had on here, is that can we see more Eternal jewellery?
Like I am generally a fan of Eternal jewelry as much as it got memeified in the past. Like, it gives a unique new drop that you can add to different tables or wherever it comes from, and allows you to make something that's pretty darn useful and saves you some hassle, right? So, as if there's a good source for it.
Yeah, I guess that's one of those things where find a good place to introduce it, could make a nice little reward somewhere.
I'd like to do the Eternal Necklace of Binding. Make lava runes a little bit nicer to play with.
That's a touchy one. I'm going to let you manage that one.
Okay, so speaking of birdhouses, we've got a question about birdhouses, oddly enough. Birdhouses currently ask for a confirmation on the amount of seeds you want to put in. This person says, it's redundant. Yes, I want to put 10 in. I never want to put in X1 or 5. Why is this fair?
Yes, because they wanted to make sure you didn't want to waste your 10 hopper stone seeds. But yeah, I think it's
things you might have
fine.
been planning to do with them, but yeah, I don't think we need that.
So there we go. We can remove that.
We could possibly take out the meat as well, or make it easier to deal with the meat when you're going around the birdhouses, because you probably are not doing birdhouses for the meat.
Where does it go if you don't want it?
On the floor, and they have to put it there. But I don't know, instead of giving you 10 individual things to block up your inventory and spam the floor, we can at least just give them one 10-fold piece of meat that sits there in a big single lump, easier to deal with. Like all the birds got mushed together when they died, so that their corpses are formed at... Oh, I think I've said enough.
The chat seems to be in support of removing the meat.
That's what I do with chicken nuggets, though, right?
Yeah.
Reconstitute it into one big lump.
Well, you know the doner kebabs I'm always getting through with the big rotary spit? It don't look anything like a sheep, and I'm assured it was that. So presumably it's been reconstituted quite...
Do you want it to look like a sheep?
Well, I'm not sure what it looks like, but at least maybe they could extrude it from some non-meat source in future. Like from a Petri dish, it would come out like that, kind of, that shape. Someone once said it looked like to them like an elephant leg going round. But it's not.
Good lord.
See that?
I think we should move on.
Yeah.
It sounded like Mud Arch, you know.
Well, I am hosting, so I've lost where I was now.
Archie does that too.
Everyone has really confusing names, and I can't pronounce
Ed, at
half
the
of them.
start,
So if I don't pronounce a name, it's because I just don't know how to pronounce it. I don't want to embarrass myself, which is what I'm going to do now by just asking the question. Can the rate at which sacred eel fishing spots move be lowered? The low XP and low GP from fishing them would be fine if they were suitably AFK.
I don't know if their time was any different to any other fishing spot.
It might be, actually. But if we were changing one aspect of those things, I'd rather it were one of the other ones.
Like buffing it in general. Yeah.
I think that's something we've talked about in the past, isn't it?
At the time we were looking at the scales, I'd actually rather look at the XP.
Yeah. I think there's a better way, and it keeps it a bit more interactive. Speaking of fishing spots moving, I've seen there's a bit of a mismatch between certain fishing spots where they actually check not to sit on top of each other, and some that don't, like Barbarian. And this has annoyed me. This has annoyed me quite a bit when I was doing barb fishing, in that you are fishing a barb, you know, with your heavy-duty rod, and then you're dropping your fish, and all of a sudden it looks like you just stopped fishing, but there's still a fishing spot in front of you, and you're like, why have I stopped? And it's because the one you were fishing is moved. There just happen to be two fishing spots on top of each other, which is strange in and of itself. And it doesn't help you realise when you've stopped fishing so well. I'd prefer to change them so that they don't sit on top of each other ever, to be honest.
You were doing efficient barb fishing, you would never have noticed. Because you'd have clicked straight back on it straight away.
Well, I'm sorry. I like my life.
Yeah, no,
I want,
Careful now.
I want to do things on the side as well, you know. Things to do.
Okay, fair enough. That's probably another moving on right there then. Any thoughts on the addition of a volcanic mine minigame teleport?
Didn't we have a chat for that?
We had a chat, but not the
we didn't offer a
teleport.
teleport. We said we'd pull it.
Oh, fair enough. That sounds fine then.
Mm-hmm. For what it's worth, when Modrock wrote the channel thing, he also wrote the teleport and left it commented out. So we've actually got the code already.
Be a nice, easy one to add. So possibly one for a poll soon. When chartering a ship, could it place you on the dock rather than still on the boat when you reach the destination?
You've been in that code fairly recently.
Yeah, you just have to change the coordinate.
So I guess the real question here is this damaging the integrity of old school by changing some long-standing...
It would make them inconsistent with all the things that are not charter ships that leave you on the boat. Because the vast majority of boats in the game, you talk to somebody who's standing on the docks, as you do, and they teleport you to be standing on a ship at the destination. So many of them. I find it really inconvenient and also inconsistent, because if the sailor were on the ship, then it would make sense you end up on the ship. But the sailor's on the docks, why can't you end up on the docks? So if we're going to do it, I'd like, if possible, to try and find all the places that are doing it, not just the charter ships.
So the chat have brought up a valid point that potentially have an impact on escapes in Deadman mode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that could be true.
So maybe, but it doesn't look like we're getting a huge amount of support.
Well, if they're happy with what they got, we can certainly move on.
Why does the agility shortcut underneath Slayer Cave have two different level requirements? On one side it's 71 and the other it's 72.
What? Which one?
No, it might have been a typo.
Wait, I haven't checked this, so they could just be wrong.
What,
but...
Stronghold Slayer Cave?
Yeah.
What? Where's the... Oh, no.
In the middle. But it might just be a typo.
Yeah. Maybe it's a greater than or equal thing.
Maybe there's a diode in there.
Mm.
And yes, the chat have correctly pointed out that that is almost 73.
This is...
You know, it's one thing making a 73 meme, but making a 73 meme when it's just near 73 is taking it a bit too far.
Well, if we're going to make them consistent, then in the fairness of spirit of compromise, we should go with a different number that's in that ballpark, but not either of the original ones. And that 73 would be one.
You know, if the way time's going on, by the time we hit 2050, every number's going to have a joke associated with it, and life's going to be miserable.
No, it's going to be hilarious.
Well, before we go too far down the 73 meme road, let's move on to another question. When are we going to get another near-miss poll?
I guess if you hark back to Aze's reasons for not releasing the Rev Caves blog and poll, to the lack of resource available, that really ties into that, when we have time to dev it.
I think
Yeah.
we all know that we want to do one very similar with a near-miss poll and more qual polls. They're all things that we want to do, but obviously we've got raids that's taking up a lot of resource, and then the extra bits that we're fitting in where we can. So yeah, I would imagine that we will have one.
It's funny how often asking the same question again hasn't got a different answer.
Yeah.
Like, we've offered to take out the wilderness ditch, 3 times? And we've ran that survey towards the end of last year to see whether people's opinions had shifted on the Divine Shield. Not so much. On the other hand, if there's things that actually would pass, then I'd be delighted to do them.
If circumstances change, then I'm open to it. So with the advent of free-to-play PvP worlds, maybe now is the time for something like free-to-play teleblock.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no point repolling and repolling if nothing's changed, which might change people's opinions.
Yeah, there needs to be a reason for something to be repolled. But, well, I suppose if it all fails, then we don't have to worry about the dev time required.
It's true.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Could the bank chest at the Fossil Island Museum camp also have a collect option?
Does it not?
Apparently it doesn't now.
Probably should.
Yes. Excellent. It's a nice easy one, I like that. Could the team looking to remove the gold requirements for the Shiloh furnace? Given that the Edgewell furnace is only one extra step, it would be nice to have more diversity in skilling areas.
It requires the diary as well, doesn't it? You have to get the diary and then pay it, or is it just...
I'm not sure. I've never used it, to be honest.
Sorry, which one was this again?
The Shiloh Village furnace.
I think you do indeed have to pay to go in that shop.
You pay to use it, but is there also a diary requirement?
Don't think so. It's
I don't think
Jonas has been there since RS Classic.
Fair enough.
I think it's Jonas.
I think
Or is
I
it a
remember
shop?
you adding a...
Oh,
copper
Rocksha
for it.
said the diaries waived the fee.
Oh, okay. Then I think we're fine.
Okay.
Depending
So
what diary is
get
it.
your diaries done, guys.
Good job, Rock.
If it's like elite diary, I'd happily change it.
Okay, yeah, but if it's elite, maybe we go back again, but I don't know.
It's not a very big fee. The annoying thing is the interaction required to pay it.
Elite waives the fee. That's ridiculous. It's a furnace. As described by the question, it was a good point. The furnace is not like some mega OP, it's right next to the bank thing. So, you know, I'd happily change it from elite to be like even medium, to be honest.
Okay. I've lost where I am again. The herbivore does not drop toad flax. Is there a reason why?
Anyone remember?
The herbivore.
Herbivore. The herbivore, not the herbivore.
Herbivore. He is a herbivore, though, right?
Yeah. It's a herbivore, but it doesn't drop toad flax.
Does it drop every other kind of herb, including toadstools, snapdragons?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
I don't know. And I don't think any of us here worked on the herbivore directly.
No, I can't
Herbivore, sorry.
I can't imagine there's a specific reason for excluding toad flax purposefully. If every other herb is included.
Although I don't think every other herb is included.
I could use, Rock says there is a reason, but he doesn't know what it is. So
Fair enough.
perhaps we can find out.
There is a reason.
There's also no
That is the answer.
Haralander and no...
Toadflax is farming only. You don't get toadflax as drops.
There's some people in the chat now saying that the herbivore is not a herbivore, so this question hasn't gone well at all, to be honest.
There's a lot of different suggestions and ideas as to why, so
Oh, well.
I'll read them out.
It's all gone tits up.
Could you like watch the language, please? Anyway,
Yeah, well, he said all ache. Apparently some people misheard.
I heard that one. I thought I'd give him one chance, but that's it. That's it. Second, I'm not having any more of that.
3 strikes and your mic's cut off.
This is my Q&A now. We're not having any of that nonsense. So, could the Champions Cape get a teleport option to the Champions Guild?
Could the Champions Cape?
Yes.
It has nothing apart from being cosmetic at the moment.
In my opinion, I think it should stay cosmetic. I don't think it needs a perk other than being a cosmetic, but I do think that it's a challenge that's worthy of having additional perks, but I'm pretty sure that when we pitched it, it was as a cosmetic only and that it would stay that way.
I think we said at the time we're offering it as cosmetic.
Yeah.
We would be open to polling perks in the future if people were that interested. There was some people felt very strongly not that they weren't. Some were vaguely interested.
Okay.
I'm not sure what kind of things we were offering at the time. It might have been stats rather than teleport features. It would, of course, mean that you mount it in your house and suddenly you can teleport to the Champions Guild from there. But you can probably teleport to the vicinity from your house anyway.
I mean, the Chronicle already exists. that tells us
So a
what's
few
right
people in the
there.
chat have already pointed out there's a few teleports there, and the Chronicle in particular is very easy to get hold of.
And I think there is a good reason it is cosmetics, because it's a pain in the arse to get it, right? 1 in 5,000 drop rates for all these things. And like you could get absolutely screwed with RNG on that stuff.
So
you can go 17. I've heard people go 17 to 20,000 dry on this stuff. So
you almost certainly wouldn't mind getting hold of that instead of the Chronicle. I mean...
Well, exactly. You go to Chronicle, you spend 2 minutes and you've purchased it. I'd feel a bit hard done by if all I got was a teleport to the Champions Guild, to be honest.
You don't have to buy pages anymore, so yay.
Did you swear again?
No.
I wasn't listening. The chat said you
said
swore
us.
again. Well, that one's okay.
What, but the other one wasn't?
No, it wasn't.
Is this list available anywhere so we can check what's okay and what's not okay? Or is it just wait for you to tell us?
Basically just as I come up with it.
All right, okay.
And it does help a lot. If I don't hear it, then obviously you're probably going to get away with it. So it's all right, though. I've got the chat on hand to help me out on that one.
What can we slide past Ed without him noticing?
Anyway, so I do believe that Mod Ghost has been working on a little boss for the Theatre of Blood, and it might be time to have a little update and see how he's doing. Maybe. Yes.
Yay.
Yes, we will have an update.
Hello, you are correct in your belief, Moded. I have been working on Sotet Seg, who is the boss for Theatre of Blood. I can hear laughs from across the room. Is it the name? Lots of people have been questioning the name.
Ignore Kieran, he's misbehaving today.
Okay, fair enough.
Intentionally, no way.
Anyway, right, I will carry on. I will soldier on. So, this is the walk animation that I've created today. You can see he looks very heavy. He's planting his feet, sort of storming along. He's a big old NPC, this one, and if I just show you in the mesh editor in comparison to your player, he's huge. So he really has to kind of move along in this manner, which makes him feel as such. So you can see he's got some cool little transforms that I've picked up from the Dark Beast and Night Beast, like his stomach drops up and down when he plants his feet. So if you see from behind there, you can kind of see that his stomach bounces along. And also his jaw kind of moves slightly eccentrically with his head bobbing up and down. And also his shoulders, yeah, that was it. That's kind of like the signature movement with Dark Beast and Night Beast. Their shoulders have to kind of oscillate from side to side. So yeah, that's pretty much done. It took a bit longer than I thought it would do. I did want to do a special attack. But if you keep an eye out on social media, I'm sure either via the Old School channel or via other people's Twitter accounts, you'll see some of this boss in future. I've got nothing else more to show really. Thank you very much for tuning in earlier. If you did see the design stream, you can watch it back again on Twitch TV as well as this dev Q&A. But for the rest of this stream, that's all you'll hear from me. Thank you.
So there was a few people in the chat saying, it looks like a Dark Beast. Well, guys, prepare to have your minds completely and utterly blown. It is a Dark Beast. I've now lost where I was again.
It's a Dark Beast that's been played with a little bit, right?
Yeah, vampires had a little play around, and but yeah, it was a Dark Beast originally, hence why it looks like a Dark Beast. You know, lore and all that stuff. Is the new King of a skill still in development? I really enjoyed the last one, and can't wait for another.
There's not current plans to do anyone in the next foreseeable at the minute, but I'm definitely open to doing one in the future at some point. I think we'd have to make a few tweaks to the rules and how we run it exactly. But yeah, I think one of the big issues we had with it last time was obviously updates carry on happening throughout that actually can have small effects on the way you train these skills. And something that we thought was incredibly safe was just changing the ability for ducks to, we changed like the lake's position, didn't we, in the Woodcutting Guild, so that ducks wouldn't go onto the land inadvertently. And in fact, people were using the ducks to help them cut the trees faster.
The reaction to that was,
yeah,
well, we didn't
Duckgate. So maybe in the future we'll do it just for a week-long competition. But yeah,
we could do more as well to attract the everyday player to play, because it kind of initially players started and then by the time near the end of it, it was just the diehards left making new accounts after new accounts, which is great for our membership figures, but probably isn't the most enjoyable gameplay for you.
Any update on the Torex Hammer's speed change?
We spoke about it ages ago on Q&A, didn't we? We mentioned alternating the hammers rather than completely buffing speed, but it hasn't gone any further than that. And
yeah, we haven't polled it, so it's not going to happen, but it's very much something we could poll.
Given the very generic way melee attacks are normally performed, saying that we've now got to have handling for this animation or that animation is not the tiniest dev job, and we might have simply felt we had more pressing things to do than that. If we wanted to change the balancing of the weapon, perhaps that wouldn't be the way to go about it. Although it seems thematically nice. On the other hand, maybe just hammer somebody around the head on both sides with the hammers at the same time would be more effective.
Can there be another way to obtain a dragon pickaxe that does not involve the wilderness?
I am capable of writing the one line of code to add it to the Master Farmer's drop table.
Good, but
great play.
Don't.
Thank you, Kieran.
You know, when something's been wilderness content, taking away that requirement from it is a fairly big step. As I think we found with Amulets of Glory on the crazy deranged archaeologist.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people are right. It's on KBD. He's not in the wilderness. Even if it requires a little bit of traversal.
It's one of those things that because of that, if we did add it outside the wilderness, it would not be a common thing. It'd be incredibly rare.
1 million gold nuggets.
All.
Oh, that's evil.
Well, we have had people in the past ask us if we can have a new use for the minerals from a mining guild. So yeah, maybe a million of those. That'll keep them busy for a while. Can the pest control queuing system get a rework? Currently waiting about 4 minutes for a game and then get given priority 1. Alternatively, should be placed in an actual queue.
We could certainly improve it from what it is. I mean, it was written a long time ago like that. I think it's 2007, the current version of that queuing code. And I do think we could write a fairer one.
Does it still favour a certain tile?
Yes, it does.
Nice.
Yeah, stand further north. Seriously.
So, another question about polls, actually. Can we see another priority poll at some point?
Oh yeah, I think when you talked about polls before, I think I said about a priority poll and a qual poll as well. They're all definitely things that we want to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sure,
we can only do one poll at a time, and there's a lot of stuff on.
The priority poll is something we'd like to do before we go and like do a lot of the planning for the next year and what we want to announce at RuneFest and things like that. That's traditionally when we do it. And I mean, I know you mentioned it before, but it's like in the next month or so, we've got the next month and a half, there's some good stuff coming up, you know. We've got that Moss Giant boss, we've got the Raids Challenge mode, stuff to get excited about. And then that moves us on towards A Taste of Hope, the new vampire quest, which introduces the Theatre of Blood, which will come out a couple of weeks after that.
Looking forward to that.
So there's a good load of stuff coming up in the next month and a half. But after that, we can start looking at some of the other stuff we've talked about already. You know, you'll have your Revs rewards. There's some of the integrity stuff with like Ardy Knights and Death Systems. I mean, you can spend some time looking at that.
Chambers of Hall as well that we said that we would do. So
I'd like to do that.
Changes.
Yeah, quality of life changes, the Chambers of Xeric. The other stuff we've talked about in the past, Farming Guild, Troll Quest, all these different things we can look at. Fremi Quest. There's a lot of things that are sort of in the works and coming up in the near future. So plenty to be excited about. Yeah. And hopefully we'll start getting a little bit more time to spend on just some bog standard quality of life as well.
It is difficult at times because we're talking about a lot of pieces of content that we've got that's coming out, and a lot of people are like, okay, well, we don't want this content. We want you to fix older things or look back at other things. But you've got to remember.
Literally my next question.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I mean, my understanding is that these ideas of content are here for a reason, because probably last year they were very popular and were very well suggested at the time. It's like, actually, we want a new quest. We want to expand on the Fremennik quest line. We want a new troll quest. We want a new raid and that kind of stuff. And they all put together as part of like a plan of things that we've seen were really hot topics. So we're going to deliver them over the course of the next year. And obviously this month already, we've done a qual month. We've done an additional qual poll. We're very likely going to be doing another qual month this year as well, I'd imagine. It's gone down so well. It's just fitting those in around all of the other requests that everyone else has put in beforehand that were really popular at the time. It's just that, that was then and this is now. So we know that everyone's kind of like priorities changed and stuff, but we know it's also content that people do want and will enjoy, or we hope will. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what people think about quests now. And I've seen a bunch of people shouting in the chat like, more quests, more quests. And in fact, I think I saw a Reddit thread the other day that was saying like, there's not many, why don't you do more quests? There's not very many coming out. It's like, we've ramped them up a lot the last year and a half. We've really started putting a lot more out. We've started building up the Zaya storyline, which Ed's put a lot of effort into. And yes, it might only be a few novice quests right now, but that is putting the seeds in place ready for an epic storyline going forward from that. Let alone the fact we did Dragon Slayer 2 this year, the biggest budget we've ever spent on a quest in the past. So.
When was Monkey Madness 2 released? Was it 2016?
Yes.
So that's
April
2016, 3 years.
May 2016.
So we've gone from having no quest for 3 years to now turning out quests quite regularly and with hopefully increasing regularity.
Yeah, we've got, for the rest of this year, we have quite a few quests lined up, like the Taste of Hope, as already mentioned, which is polled and currently in development. In fact, it's what I'm developing right now. I'm over halfway through now. It's looking really good so far. I showed off a couple of cutscenes earlier to these guys.
Oh, that was good.
Good response, but no spoilers. You'll get to see it soon enough. And then, as already mentioned, we've got Troll Quest, which we've spoken about, the Fremennik quest, and as you can probably gather from the way those Zaya quests have been going, we're going to do one hopefully for all the houses. So there's 2 more house quests there, and that'll then build into something bigger. I do actually have a question here about quests and quest series, and it's, will we see an expansion to the Elemental Workshop quest line?
This is the sort of quest that I'd like to write, because I'm not the dialogue guy, and that's all interaction with scenery and puzzles. So
obviously right now we're at Elemental Workshop 2, and if anyone remembers Elemental Workshop 3 from when it came out,
Yes.
I don't know if you'd actually thank us for that one.
I had a quest kit back then, and I did all quests on launch without a guide. That's the one day I regretted it. I did it, I got through it, and it's like my greatest achievement of my life's history. But yeah, it was painful, that.
So, on the topic of quest series, of the quest series in old school, which would you most like to see continued? This is my question now. I'm just taking over here. Sorry.
Wow, we can't ask questions. I don't know, I have to say Vampire, and it sounds weird because we know we're already doing it, but Vampire is the one that jumps to my mind as exciting.
For me, it would be Elves in Ardoin, because that was such a long, drawn-out series, starting from Plague City through Biohazards and Underground Pass and Regicide and the Morning Quests. It was... how I saw time passing was that another one of those was coming out. And for old school, of course, nothing's happened in that story because we haven't been offering to recreate Within the Light from RS3. But it would give us the opportunity to do Prifddinas. Not the same as RS3's, because we're not offering to copy all those graphics, frankly. And we might not decide to make some of the decisions they did about, you know, GEs and such like. But I would like to be able to put something there. And not just like we did on our first birthday and filled it with mammoths.
I also like the Temple Knights, just going to say that as well.
That's a good quest line. I think I answered this one on the stream, in fact. Originally, it was Monkey Madness 2. Then we brought that out. Then I wanted to see Dragon Slayer 2. And then Dragon Slayer 2 came out.
So secretly you're controlling everything.
Well, yeah. So the next one is probably the most popular in the chat as well. I would love to see a sequel to Desert Treasure. So, and for me, it's because it was the one quest that I put off when I played RuneScape before Old School came out. I put it off for so long because I was even more of a noob then than now. And I was just terrible at quests. I hated doing them. I love them now. I absolutely love doing them. But when I remember completing Desert Treasure and just feeling so epic about completing it, even though it wasn't a huge achievement at the time, I would love to just see that carry on. And the story was great as well. I love the whole exploration and everything that you had to do and all the variety in that quest. So.
Mine would probably be Elves. Before I worked for Jagex and Zaya was announced, I'd kind of hoped there would be some Elves being considered in. Because I was thinking of kind of Middle Earth and Valinor lore, in which the Elves travel westwards. And I was obviously with kind of Prif and Letia being the westernmost of the continent, it makes sense for them to travel westwards to a new continent. So yeah, I guess Elves.
I'd agree with Elves myself, actually.
There's a nice question from Charizard in the chat about whether we could give them a name that isn't, you know, something with a 2 at the end. The great thing about the Elves and the Morning Quest is whatever you get, it ain't going to have 2 at the end.
Hey, yeah, we've already got Morning's End Part 2, so we've done a couple of 2s now. Are you ready for a 3?
But more seriously, the thing is, if we announced, I don't know, we're going to kick off 2018 with the Vault at Lithcran, not many people will have the faintest idea what we're banging on about. Whereas if you say Dragon Slayer 2, people already know what it's a sequel to and that that's a fairly big deal. And you can get a lot more, you know, frankly, attention from people getting interested in your update. Now, I would, however, like to compromise, though, by calling it things like Dragon Slayer 2 : like, you know, you've got Star Wars 5, The Empire Strikes Back, or Star Wars 1, the film best forgotten. But if we called it Dragon Slayer 2: the Vault at Lithcran, we could have had Vault at Lithcran as the name on the in-game quest list, but still be able to refer to it as Dragon Slayer 2 in all of our marketing promo work. And that might cover all the bases.
I think it's worth pointing out that, yeah, we've done a couple of quests where it's just quest 2, but that's not what we've done for every quest. You know, like we've got, what is Mayaki 4 coming up? We've not just called it Mayaki 4, we've called it A Taste of Hope, so we do mix and match a bit, but yeah, I do get the whole, it's a bit boring just calling it 2. Let's grab a few questions from the chat. Which question do you want, Kieran?
iCalcs asks, can the mobile banking interface be introduced to the PC version?
That sounds like mobile banking. You can bank on the move anywhere. Which, no, we're not doing that.
I think this is, I mean, technically, yes, it is possible. Perhaps it's best to ask that question when we're moving into a wider beta state. More players have had the opportunity to get their hands on it, have experienced it themselves, and then you're in a better position to decide whether you want it on desktop or even after full release of mobile, when everyone has a chance to get to grips with it. At the moment, polling it with around 7,000 to 8,000 people probably isn't the best thing to do.
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible, and if people really want us to, then we'd be willing to. But as Sween said, pretty much bang on.
I've got a good question there about Sotiseg, the Dark Beast boss from Fear of Blood. Will he have a Slayer requirement? I don't believe we're planning on putting a Slayer requirement on him. And if you want a nice story excuse, again, it's because he's been modified, so you no longer need Slayer to be able to kill him. Can we exchange Vorkaf's head to get our gear back instead of paying 100k to make the head more useful?
I didn't give that gravestone system an alternate item feature, but it wouldn't be that hard. Most of the code's quite centralised. Or we could replace the coin fee with Vorkaf's head. That would be a bit nasty to anyone who's Vorkaf's head yet.
I feel like if you've killed Vorkaf enough to amass a number of Vorkaf heads, you're probably unlikely to die often.
You certainly you have a reasonable chance of owning enough money, and I'm pretty sure we let it take from the bank.
Yeah.
We do.
It's come up a few times where people have quite a few heads lying around, so even if it's not that, I guess there's probably value in looking at something to do with them. We did try to add a couple of things like the Slayer helm and letting you use them as ensouled heads, but...
Maybe you could put it on your cat like a mask, and then you'd have a sort of dragon-faced pet walking around, like the small wolves with dragon masks on used in the Carnelian Rising quest in RS3. They look quite sweet until you kill them.
So it'd be a budget pet Vorky. For those who haven't got the drop, just have with their cat instead.
That's quite cool.
Oh dear.
With more legs.
Cat.
What else have I got here? I'm getting near the end now, which is actually just about bang on time.
Pick a good one.
Any update on the game integrity post?
Yeah, me and Kieran discussed that earlier, actually. I've gone through feedback. I've kind of made most of my recommendations. Death mechanics are still separate. I'm waiting on more of a top-level summary from ModCam, who's going through all the data for me. When it turns to deving it, I think you said it's probably unlikely to come until after Raids 2. So that's a time frame for you.
Yeah, so coming back to what we said earlier about not having a huge amount of dev time available for new polls, that does also apply to stuff that isn't polled. But yeah, it's not been forgotten about, is the point.
The RD Knights are the interesting thing, right? I mean, firstly, the solution we're potentially looking at with that is like the bags of cash will stack in your inventory, but have a cap on how many you can stack. Meaning inventory space isn't really an issue for those who want to fill up their inventory with other stuff.
Like food.
Yeah. But what it's made us realise is that we should just nerf all the content in game. Because, let me get to this point. Let me get to this.
Is this the thing you're on
This is
about
my new
earlier?
cell. You know, we just need to... Basically, dev time is going to be a lot more accessible. But by announcing in the future that we're going to be nerfing RD Knights, the engagement with the content has skyrocketed. I mean, we can look at the graph and we can see how many people are thieving RD Knights, and I don't know how much it's risen, but it's like a mountain on the graph. And so basically what we should do is nerf everything in 3 months' time. And engagement with the game is going to skyrocket. Think of the membership rise, you know? Why are we adding stuff when all we should be doing is slowly decreasing XP rates?
I like it. You had another idea that was a bit more drastic, though. I'd like to
start deleting content. Yeah, I mean, what if? Never mind nerfing RD Knights. We literally delete them in 6 months' time. Got to get thieving now, don't you? You know.
Yeah, but what if we just delete
future.
thieving?
I mean, we can start having like a spotlight feature where instead of putting a spotlight on content, every weekend we delete everything except this one piece of content, and suddenly everyone's going to be playing it. I think we've sorted the future out here, and
yes, I think it would definitely sort the future one way or another.
It's just like bollocks. We've been doing it wrong all this time.
I heard that one.
Oh, 3 strikes and you're out.
I mean, he's already out for his terrible suggestion right there of deleting content, to be honest.
But
But
it's after 6, so maybe we're all out.
yeah, I don't think we can go. We can't go on from this. That's it. So yeah, I'm just gonna have to call it there. That's it, guys. Kieran's ruined everything. We're deleting content and we're deleting this Q&A.
Another Mod Kieran pitch. What will it be next week? Tune in to find out.
Unless we do delete the Q&A.
Yeah.
So in which case, don't tune in because we won't be here.
Well, next week might be the last Q&A. We might not do another one, so you best come and watch it.
Yeah, that's a good point, mate.
So
Game might not be around next week.
in that case, you should dab.
On that note, I'm going to say goodbye.
Bye.